we should be watching today throughout our show as the shuffling continues, right? Yesterday we were watching to see who was going to get cut initially. All of the rosters had to be in by basically an hour after our show. The Titans did theirs. There were a couple of wrinkles, curveballs, and now we'll see what happens around the league with all the available players hitting the market.
Yeah.
I would expect to see during the course of our show probably a few significant moves that and one or two of them might affect the Titans.
Yeah, and because I think yesterday some of the moves that they made surprised some people. Like, they cut Logan Woodside. That didn't surprise anyone. We had kind of gotten to the point where we thought it was going to be Ryan Tannehill and Malik Willis, and that's what it was. But they carried 5 running backs. They ended up going with Henry Hilliard Haskins, which I had, Torrey Carter, the fullback, but Julius Chestnut makes the roster, at least right now. I would say that's probably one of those moves that's going to come a little bit later, but at least for now, he is on the roster. 5 wide receivers in Robert Woods, Westbrook Akina, Traylon Burks, Racey McMath, Kyle Phillips, but I believe they have put McMath on IR. I think I saw that he will, so he'll miss the first 4 games. Austin Hooper, Jeff Swaim, Chika Okonkwo, the 3 tight ends. And then offensive linemen, I think they only have 7, but Dylan Radence does make the roster, the initial roster. Ben Jones, Corey Levin, Aaron Brewer, Nate Davis, Jamarco Jones, Taylor Lewan, Nicholas Petit-Frere, Dylan Radence, Dennis Daly. I'm going to stop there. Do you believe, with Dennis Kelly getting cut, that Dennis Kelly is coming back to Nashville?
I'd look at it. I'd have to make sure that, just like with Michael Pruitt that we talked about yesterday, that what version of Dennis Kelly am I getting? I mean, I have to get some good info from my scouts who have been watching him, because Dennis Kelly 2-3 years ago was a pretty darn good player, a very useful player for a significant period of time. We know, just like Pruitt, he's lights out with the makeup. He's got the mentality that the Titans love. He's a great team guy. It's just a question of, can he still play? And
Sure.
I don't know what the price would be. He's a veteran player. He might cost a little bit more.
I bet you could get him at the veteran minimum, though.
Yeah, I mean that's a factor. I don't know the answers to that, but I would certainly think just the familiarity, you'd love to take a look at that. I would think he would have an interest if it came down to it,
His
as
brother's
opposed
here
to
now.
maybe some other teams. But they made the trade. They signed Jamarco Jones in the offseason. We don't know much about either one of those guys, Daly or Jamarco Jones. You have to sort of trust that those guys could be okay in terms of backups, and you go from there. So I love the idea of Dennis Kelly, but I don't know if there's room. We'll see.
Little surprise on the defensive line just with how many that they're currently holding on to.
We talked about it, how strong they played in the preseason games. I mean, we didn't see Jeffrey Simmons at all. We didn't see Danico Autry at all. Those are their 2 best ones.
Sure.
But they had very good defensive line play.
They did
in the preseason
They basically
games.
kept all of them. I mean, it was Simmons, Autry, Tart, Naquan Jones. Those were the 4 that I think you kind of knew. The DeMarcus Walker, Kevin Strong, and Deshaun Hand. Deshaun Hand had a very good camp, and I'm mad at myself that I didn't have him on my roster. But
how many did you miss?
I missed a lot.
Who did the best? How did Rexroad do?
I
How
don't
did
know
Stillman
if he did
do?
much better.
Did we have like a medal system? Guess the 53. I did
don't
not
think
participate.
Stillman did a 53.
He didn't?
No. I always liked it when Floyd did. Floyd would do a 53.
Yeah.
You obviously paid attention to that more so than me or Rexroad or Stillman. Stillman's going to join us at 11:30. We'll get his thoughts on his overreaction. That should be fun. Linebackers, Bud Dupree, Landry, Zach Cunningham, David Long Jr., Rashad Weaver, Ola Adani, Dylan Cole, Chance Campbell. So I had in that group, I had Gibbons and Joe Jones. Both of them did not make it, but I would think one or both of them are going to end up on the practice squad.
As long as they make it through the sea of teams that just made cuts. But this is another factor that we saw, is they have a number of guys that I think – I don't know if they have an agreement with the local condominium complex near the bubble over there, but it just seems like
there's an agreement with a hotel.
There's a group of players that will not be on the 53 that at some point in the season, the odds are they're going to get a phone call if they're living in Nashville and not on another team. Even if they don't make the initial practice squad, I think it goes beyond that. You just want to have that in your Rolodex. Do people still have Rolodexes, by the way? We're talking about yesterday's term, like obsolete term was on paper.
I have a computer.
We don't write things down paper as much, but like
I have a spreadsheet that is named the Rolodex.
Okay, a spreadsheet that's called the Rolodex.
Yeah.
I don't have a Rolodex. I don't know if I ever had a Rolodex, actually.
I never did.
But the point is, you've got players that are on speed dial. Is there still speed dial? Maybe just in your contacts.
Really.
In your contacts, right, that you can get a hold of that are on standby. And you'll build your practice squad, and then you go from there. And they were one of the first teams, I think, to take full advantage of the roster flexibility that did not exist back in the days when Floyd was the GM. That made it really tough. When a guy was hurt, you had to put him on IR. If you put him on IR, he's done for the season. I mean, done. Can't bring him back. So they have a lot more flexibility in how to utilize a roster. It's too bad you can't start a little side league or something and play some developmental games. You really would love that. But, the next thing to me is can they sneak Woodside back in here just to have a guy to fall back on?
Yeah, and I certainly believe they're going to try and do that. But DBs, Christian Fulton, Caleb Farley, Roger McCreary, Elijah Molden, Ugo Amadi, Trey Avery making the roster at
that
corner.
One surprised me.
Kevin Byard, Amani Hooker, Lonnie Johnson, Josh Kalu, A.J. Moore. So no Chris Jackson, no Theo Jackson. A little surprised by both those.
Chris Jackson especially. The rookies, I think, as a whole, have had a really good first training camp. It's really encouraging, from the volume standpoint, based on the last few years, how many times we had a lot of questions about some of the rookies. Their batting average wasn't as high. So far, there's a lot of things to be excited about. So, with Theo Jackson, if you can get him on the practice squad, I would think that's an obvious one, right? Just like Des Fitzpatrick last year, a fairly high, significant draft pick that didn't make the team, but they actually did get him back onto the practice squad. Chris Jackson really surprised me. I thought for sure he's a good insurance policy. He's a serviceable guy. I don't know if they felt like he just wasn't as sharp in training camp. But
he got lit up a couple times.
That's what the competition is all about. That's why you bring in extra guys like that, to see if you can hold on to your spot.
I feel like he's one, though, if he does make it to the practice squad, you'll see him again. Like he
would fit that Rolodex comment that I made. Yeah.
Yeah. Receivers surprised me a little bit that they only went with 5, and then I think they're going to be doing some work at that position. I mean, I don't think that position group is done. And, again, the report yesterday that they're going to put Racy McMath on IR, so he'll miss the first 4 games. So they now have 4 active receivers. They're either going to be bringing some guys they cut back, like a Fitzpatrick or a Hollister or Mason Kinsey, one of those guys, or I believe, Willie, they're going to go look elsewhere and see some other receivers that have been cut. I'm going to ask Derek about this, but I'll ask you first. I heard Robbie Stanley bringing up with Joe Rexrode this morning. I don't think I would do it, but with Josh Gordon being out there, would you take a flyer on him?
I don't think that's how they roll. I don't see Josh Gordon as a guy that they would go with there. I think they would more likely bring back one of the guys. It is interesting, the numbers. We talked about the tight ends, and we're going to get into this a little later in the show, the role definition. But only 3 tight ends, and now, if that's true with McMath, only 4 wide receivers. That's pretty thin. I mean, that tells. I mean, if you had to roll right now, which ought to tell you that this is not a finished product. You're going to go in with 4 wide receivers, 3 tight ends. That tells me you're going to play the fullback a lot. I don't know. That just seems a little thin. So I wonder what they have up their sleeve there.
Yeah, and I believe Marcus Johnson was released by San Francisco, so he could be. He could be another. That was me. He could be another.
I thought that was me. I assume it's me when something goes off like that.
No, yeah, that's my bad. He could be another one that could potentially. I mean, because he already knows the offense. I just have a feeling that tight end and receiver, there's going to be somebody that was not in training camp that I think ends up being on the roster.
Do we know what happened to McMath?
I don't.
I mean, I'd love to know.
Yeah, I have not seen anything on what happened there, but you know what else is interesting, and we'll talk about this coming up next, is some of the cuts around the league. A lot of draft picks from the last couple of drafts, the COVID drafts, already getting cut, which I find to be interesting, including, right here in Nashville, that there's only one member of the 2020 draft remaining on this roster right now. We'll discuss that and the other moves that could be. We're up and running. You can weigh in on our phone line or our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com at 615-737-1025. Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
At some point, it's a combination of who did you play and what does your skill set look like.
Get the best analysis of the big stories in the sports world with ESPN's Jason Fitz.
If you reach for a quarterback in the draft because you need one, you're going to set your franchise back 5 years.
Join Fitzy every Wednesday at 4:30. Presented by Blood Assurance. Jason Fitz.
I am 5'9.5"
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Ford South. We all know that you're not supposed to wear white after Labor Day. So with that in mind, we're discounting all of our white vehicles. Well, maybe we should just discount the lighter colors that are close to white too, and maybe the red and blue ones since we celebrate this in America. Okay, fine. I'll discount all the cars, starting right now. On top of that, we want to celebrate all of your hard work with the most American lunch we can think of. Hot dogs. Hot dogs all day on Labor Day. So come kick your feet up, get a new car of any color, and enjoy a hot dog. You can even shop online for a new car with Newton Fast Pass. But you'll have to make your own hot dogs that way. Sorry. Visit NewtonFordSouth.com to learn more.
What I would tell people is that you don't have to be in pain anymore.
Meet Dr. Justin Garzone, Medical Director at QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in using advanced regenerative medicine to give people lasting relief from chronic joint pain.
What's exciting is that I get to see patients with our treatments actually get better.
Have you discovered regenerative medicine? It's an all-natural way to use the power of your own body to restore and repair damaged tissue.
We're using things that are already in your body, and we're simply concentrating them and then put it in an area of your body that you're having the pain so that your body can start the regenerative process, the healing process.
For pain in your knees, hips, back, shoulders, don't assume the old treatments are the only treatments. Avoid drugs and surgery and get lasting relief. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and FanDuel wants you to be ready for game day when college football kicks off this week. Right now, new customers can get $150 in free bets guaranteed for week one. Just place a $5 bet, and you can get $150 in free bets, win or lose. Lots of interesting college football props out there. I'm looking at the Vols over 7.5 wins this year, but you take it any way you want to take it. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, now's the perfect time to give it a shot. The app is easy to use, and they're always hooking you up with great odds as well. So see for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Download the FanDuel app today, sign up with promo code ROB, and place a $5 bet to get $150 in free bets guaranteed to kick off the college football season. Once again, that promo code is ROB. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
I love this show.
Never miss a moment of the show.
Okay, all right, okay.
Subscribe to the Chase, Willy, and D-Mase podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm ready to step this up a notch.
You're listening to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
This September 10th and 11th, the Chainsmokers hit Music City at the Blended Wine and Music Festival. 24 bands, 2 stages, One weekend all under the Nashville skyline. Buy your tickets now at blendedfestival.com. That's blendedfestival.com. Welcome back in. Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3. The Game, as talking about roster cuts around the NFL as the Titans down to 53. But, again, this roster not complete by any means. John Robinson and Mike Vrabel are going to address the media later this afternoon in the 3 o'clock hour. You'll be able to hear that as a part of Stillman & Company. So we'll see if more moves have been made before then, if they can provide more answers of kind of what they're thinking. But as I look at this roster right now, I mean, again, offensive line, they only have 7 offensive linemen. I feel like they got to address that. They're going to have to add at least 1, maybe 2 more. Receiver, if McMath is for sure going on IR, only 4 active wide receivers. They're going to have to address that. Tight end, as you have pointed out several times, Willie, they love the 2 tight end sets. Probably going to need to add a 4th. They're very, very heavy at linebacker and defensive back right now, so they could take from that. They also have the extra running back. So they definitely have some pieces they can move around to complete this roster.
You know, this would be a good question for Tehran, because I don't know in detail the different roles on the special teams, but I believe Racey McMath has a pretty unique role on the coverage, right? Isn't he the gunner?
Yeah.
Isn't he their best gunner? So I don't know if that's something that Chestnut figures into. Like, who if McMath is out for at least 4 games, if he's going to go on IR, I think it's Terry McCormick that has that with a hip injury. That's something you got to have that. And so how does that change your 53rd? It's like they say every year, it's the right 53.
Right.
It's not always the best 53. So it is an art form behind the scenes. You know, from a macro perspective, though, the top 30 guys, the top 30 to 35 guys are going to really sink or swim this roster. I am taking for granted. I'm taking as a given that they will do a good job figuring out the role players from, spots 40 through 53 on the roster, and then picking the right 45 on game day. I think they're really good at that. I'm a little bit more concerned with, the big questions about the top guys. Can those guys carry them to another regular season where they give themselves a shot to do well in the postseason in a very, very deep AFC? In this era, while they're good, the AFC is good. I would love to have some of the years that they've had the last couple years in the NFC, where there's not nearly as many powerful teams. This is a tough era in the AFC. Last year, for example, we thought the AFC was incredibly deep, and that was with the Bengals being a team that was still, hey, they got the second, right? It's the Bengals. Maybe they'll be a little bit better. That ended up being the Super Bowl representative from the AFC. So you look at the AFC, how many bad teams are there that you just write off right now and say they're bad? 2 or 3? Not very many.
Yeah, probably. And by the way, I'd like to thank Will in Nashville on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. I can't count. There are 9 offensive linemen.
Yeah, I was going to correct you on that. I thought you might catch that by yourself. But
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You didn't count the centers.
Thank you,
or
Wills.
something?
I don't know what I did. I just math.
Yeah. So I think they kept the amount of offensive linemen that you thought they were going to keep, and that's 9. So I don't know. I think they could be set there. But
they could be,
look,
but
I don't get into as much at this point. Who ends up being 50, 51, 52, 53. It's significant, but in the big picture, how significant is it really?
Would you take Radence or Dennis Kelly? If you're given the choice between the two, what would you do?
Well, remember, Radence is on a rookie contract, so that is probably
Dennis Kelly
cheaper.
is not going to. He's not going to cost you a lot of money.
Well, let's take a look at that.
I mean,
because don't you? It's not as simple as you just. I don't. Let's double check and see what the price tag of Kelly would be in a vacuum. It's not even close, right? If I think that Kelly can still play, then certainly his versatility, his ability to play pretty much every position.
How many years has he played? I mean, he's
at least 7, 8.
Yeah, he's
9?
he's going to cost you a little over $1 million. But that's still.
But what's his existing contract?
Well, I mean, you don't have to worry about that. He got cut.
He got cut, but aren't there, with some certain players who have guaranteed money and stuff like that?
If you claim him on waivers, then yeah. But I think, I think that once he clears waivers, then it's just whatever.
Yeah, assuming he is very affordable, then I think you'd have to be crazy not to take Kelly. So I guess Corey Levin would be your backup center at this point. I guess you could move Brewer. Remember the Brad Hopkins adage that I have taken to heart for the last couple of years. If a guy gets hurt, you really don't want to move several guys. In other words, we know Aaron Brewer can play center. He used to be the backup center and the backup guard. But now that he's the starting guard, if the center gets hurt, do you want to have a new guard and a new center? I don't think so. That's not Brad. Remember we talked about this with Sembrino switching sides. Remember when Taylor Lewan had the issues? Remember they had 3 consecutive guys go down. They had musical chairs, and we kept thinking, should you move Dennis Kelly over to play left tackle? And Brad Hopkins says, no, keep everybody intact as much as you can. Just swap out the guy that's missing. And so you're only making 1 change as opposed to 2, or a domino effect where you have 3. So I don't think Dennis Kelly's ever played center, but we know he can play tackle and guard.
Yeah.
I think so. It's an obvious if he's there that unless he can't play anymore. I mean, he's 32. I wouldn't think he's totally over the hill. That's there are plenty of offensive linemen that play to 35, 36.
The only reason that I keep going back to it is because John Robinson and Mike Vrabel have shown that they're not afraid to bring guys back. I mean,
sure.
Will Compton's had a couple of stints here. Darren Bates had a couple of stints here. Corey Levin's had a couple of stints here. I think Dennis Kelly could be an option. Marcus Johnson could be an option. They like bringing guys that fit that team-first mold that they want to build their team around, and also they can come in and play right away. Now, one thing that I was reading, Terry McCormick, TitanInsider.com, went on with George on his thing on Main Street Media and did, speculate. He said, quote, from what I believe, Dennis Kelly was not real happy about how the way things happened in 2020 when he got cut. Has enough time passed? The fact that his brother Tim is a coach here, does that factor in? Or have the Titans simply just said, look, we got Dennis Daly. We've made that acquisition. We're moving on. We're not going to worry about it anymore. Could definitely be the case. Terry also tweeted hearing that a Dennis Kelly Titans reunion is not a guarantee, but maybe not out of the question either. So it sounds like it's being batted around, but who knows?
I don't know what his market is right now. He's played 11 years in the league, Dennis Kelly. He's 32. As I look at SpotTrack, I don't think there's dead money, extra cash based on that. So I think he would be fairly inexpensive. How many teams are calling him? All of this is I'm sure he wasn't happy on how it ended with the Titans. But if it's that or you don't play, I think you get over that pretty quick if there's an opportunity, if you want to continue to play. He also could be at the stage of his career where he's ready to just say, you know what, I'm ready to move on with my life. But if he wants to play, like I said before, I would not be surprised at all if they went down that road to take a look at it. If you believe that the offensive line is one of the top concerns on the team, I also don't think Dennis Kelly would be the only guy that they're looking at. I think they're probably looking at a lot of guys. If, how can I make my team better? What are my insurance policies for a rookie right tackle, for a first-year starter at left guard? What if my guys went down? These are all major questions because they've got to have good, solid offensive line play to be a good team.
They do. And Wes in Clarksville says the O-line is the only thing I'd be focusing on that will make or break us.
That's a good take by Wes.
And I'll say receiver too. I'm concerned about receiver because, yes, they could bring some of these guys back on, but the fact that you don't have McMath that was showing signs of being your deep threat. Now and I'm not saying he was going to make or break anything, but I like the camp that he had.
Yeah, I'm just wondering when it happened. Apparently, it was a hip injury. He was playing pretty deep into the game against the Cardinals. I don't know if it happened on the last drive or something like that, but
I don't know.
I was envisioning him as the gunner, and then you spot him if you want to stretch the defense.
I just think right now there's even more pressure on Treylon Burks, which I think is something they were trying to avoid. That's why a guy.
Why do you think there's more? I think it's the same as it's been since the day he was drafted. Why do you
just
think there's more?
A numbers game. I mean, you could have designed, and you still could design plays for somebody else. Now maybe you have to design more plays for him. That's why I think somebody like a Marcus Johnson would be interesting because he knows the offense, and I thought he was decent for them. He just couldn't stay healthy. That's the issue. And so it's like, can you get a month out of Marcus Johnson or some veteran that can help you?
Marcus Johnson was sort of the talk of the camp last year. He had a couple of moments, got hurt a bunch. I think that they've turned the page on that. It would be my guess. I think you're more likely to see a Fitzpatrick or a Kinsey or some of the guys that have been there, a Hollister. They've been there the whole camp. They've been working with Tannehill. I think the bird in hand is better there. Unless you're telling me it's a guy that's really gotten something done in the league or is a high-ceiling talent. So it's like, what are you looking for? I think the first four guys are pretty set.
Yeah.
As we've watched it materialize, Phillips in the slot, Akine is a guy that can play anywhere, but it looks like he's going to start outside. We know about Woods, and Burks will be sort of the wild card that it's going to be creative how they use him, but they know they're going to use him. Outside of that, I think you're getting into, at least from the start, who blends in, who plays a role in special teams and things like that. I don't think you're really looking at your scheme at this point.
Coming up next, will two draft classes in particular come back to haunt the Titans? We'll discuss that coming up next. It's Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, Preds fans.
Running across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Hi guys, it's Andrew. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of the pills? Well, today, Wednesday, August 31st, we're running a one-day special you won't want to miss out on. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most powerful form of wave therapy. This is a technology clinically shown to repair blood vessels and improve blood flow. Even Cambridge has studied our technology. If you're ready to transform your love life, grab your phone. Today is your day. Call us now and you'll qualify for the assessment and ultrasound totally free. You'll also get a gift that can produce powerful results in the bedroom in minutes. You're going to love that, guys. And today only, we're offering 6 tune-up treatments to our patients free. This is our most lucrative offer ever, worth over $1,200. But call today, Wednesday, and qualify totally free. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your love life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now to qualify. This offer ends today. 615-576-5000.
With your home value up again, you are sitting on a pile of money. So don't let it sit there. Use it. Willy Donick here for my friends once again at Loan Pronto. Introducing Loan Pronto's Equity Line of Credit program. You don't have to refinance, but you can access up to 97% of your home's value. Get cash now to pay off all your credit cards or do that home improvement project. Get your down payment for a new home or stash away for a safety net. You can get $50,000, even $100,000 or more out of your home. And the payments are crazy low. Think what you could do with $100,000 right now. Loan Pronto makes unlocking your equity easy, and they can probably even waive the appraisal. Don't just let all that home equity pile up. Turn your house into an ATM machine and get the cash you need. Call Loan Pronto now, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
College football season is here. Finally, it's me, Caroline Fenton, and you already know that I am pumped up for college football season. And Southeastern Carolines, you know that 312 Pizza Company is my favorite place in town. 312 Pizza Company is a family-owned restaurant located in the heart of Germantown, serving up authentic Chicago-style eats right here in Music City. You can catch every down of the college football season at 312 Pizza Company. From week 1 of the national championship, 312 Pizza Company is your home for college football season.
It's bedtime at the home of SiriusXM, but Conan O'Brien is still awake.
Turns out you don't need a car to listen to SiriusXM. You can listen to the app anywhere, in your room, by the pool, at the
And
laundromat.
Brad Paisley just really needs his beauty sleep.
Conan, I just really need my beauty sleep. Maybe really expensive boat, like a yacht.
The waves could rock you gently to sleep.
Don't encourage him, guy.
Sorry. Night-night. Everything you want to hear lives here on SiriusXM. Get the SiriusXM app now.
Tune into the Thursday edition of Robbie and Rex Road. It's game day for the Tennessee Vols. We'll look ahead to their matchup against Ball State. We'll be joined by Jared Stillman at 7 o'clock for his thoughts on the initial 53-man roster of the Titans as well. Robbie and Rex Road, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt football head coach Clark Lee. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
You can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook every day. Our video streaming is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Welcome back in. Chase, Willy, and D-Mase live at the Hillside Medical Game Studio. Chase McCabe, Willy Donick here with you. Derek is taking his son back to college, but he's going to join us a little later in the show at 12:30. We'll also talk to Jonathan Hutton at noon. Wes Rucker from 24/7 will join us to talk the Vols at 1 o'clock as well, plus trivia question for today. So I wanted to bring this up, Willy, as the Titans went through their cuts.
They're making a cup run. They're making a run for a cup.
Whatever. There is now one member of the 2020 draft left on this team, and that's the second-round pick in Christian Fulton. Now, Chris Jackson could certainly factor in, could be he was a seventh-round pick. He could still be back at some point. But Isaiah Wilson, we know that story. Darrington Evans, we know that story.
Oh.
Laurel Murchison got cut yesterday. Cole McDonald, we know that story. And then Chris Jackson.
Cole McDonald.
He's on his farm.
He's on his farm.
And then the 2021 draft, I'm going to put in this conversation because basically there's a ton of unknowns. Caleb Farley, don't know. Radence.
I'm optimistic.
About Farley? Yeah. I think I am too.
I'm really looking forward to Monday because Monday I'm declaring that I am not talking about Dylan Radence anymore. Let's just not.
Okay.
I am just putting a kibosh on that.
Okay.
If you all want to talk about him, you can't. I'm out of time. I'm out of time with him.
That's fine.
We've talked about him so much, but yes, he's on the list of questionable.
Questionable, leaning towards bust.
Doubtful.
Monty Rice showed flashes. He's on PUP.
Yeah, I mean, he's serviceable. He'll be serviceable.
Still holding out hope. Elijah Molden, still kind of feel pretty good about him.
Yeah, I think he's a good
he'll
pick.
Be all right.
Good pick. Good player.
Des Fitzpatrick, not on the team.
Doubtful.
Rashad Weaver, have a lot of hope there.
I like him. I like him a lot.
Racy McMath, I have hope.
Optimistic.
Yep. Brady Breeze, not on the team.
That's not a bad draft.
Yeah. It's incomplete. I'm not ready to say it's good or bad.
Second year. They're second-year guys. I think
2020, though.
Yes. I would put those two drafts in a completely different category. 2020, and I think the first thing I think about is what was different about 2020. That was a very, very different draft to prepare for. And I would say you're probably going to find some teams that had a great 2020 draft, but it's sort of a random thing. I think as we go forward to in time, I'm curious about the Predators draft in 2020, which was even more random because you had guys that weren't even playing, and you are scouting the entire world and trying to figure out 18-year-olds' futures who you don't really have as good of an understanding. It's hard enough when you do have as good understanding when they're 18. So to me, the 2020 draft for hockey in 5 or 10 years will be something to look back on and say, how in the heck did they even try to draft players at that point and have any idea what was going to happen? I think to a lesser degree it's true in the NFL draft. So, like, for example, with the Isaiah Wilson, we've often asked the question, could you have possibly seen what was coming? Like, I think at the end of the day, 2020 or not, there's no way any of us thought it would be that crazy, that wacko. But maybe under different circumstances where you could have had different contacts, more extensive research, the regular routine that you go through, maybe they wouldn't have picked him first. Maybe they would have let him slip a little longer before they decided where to pick him.
Yeah.
But you know, I just think I'm not going to give him a pass on the 2020 draft, but I do understand that it was different.
It was different, but I mean they're paying for missing on Isaiah Wilson. They don't have a right tackle. I mean, they may in Petit Frere, he may develop into it, but they're going into the season in a very important season with a huge question mark at right tackle. And if they had hit on that, they wouldn't have that, but they didn't.
Okay, we could talk about that the whole show because they did have a right tackle in Jack Conklin, and that's a decision that I'd love to go back and if you could have a do-over, talk about how you would have kept him because he was their first-round pick. He was a pillar.
Was John Robinson's first-round pick.
And I think they came to the determination that they just didn't want to spend premium money at that position. And they would find a way to get by. And they have gotten by since then, but it's been a revolving door. But I'm not as worried about Petit Frere for the same reason I've been saying all camp. He's replacing David Quesenberry. David Quesenberry is a replacement-level player who worked his way into being an overachieving starter. But if you take a look, they did not get great play out of Quesenberry last year. I almost called him Dan Quisenberry. David Quesenberry. He's not a great player. So the bar is low. Petit Frere, give him a chance. Is there risk? And this is, I know Jared has been really harping on this. But what was the alternative? Unless you want to go back in time and say, you know, make Isaiah Wilson into a different guy or redo the whole thing with Conklin and have him be the guy and deal with the other repercussions of that. I'm optimistic about it. I'm glad that Petit Frere won the job. I think he looks athletic. I think he's going to have growing pains. I think they're going to have to help him out. What would you have said about Nate Davis on opening day his rookie year? He wasn't even practicing.
No, he wasn't good.
He wasn't even he wasn't on the radar.
Floyd had the famous line to Jared, "You don't know Nate Davis from a jar of Vicks."
100%. We had our own ways of saying that on our show. Like, where is he? We thought we had him on the missing persons. Like, we never heard about him because they don't talk about injuries and training camp. He wasn't out there. And, of course, an offensive lineman, you know, it's not like you watch him running pass patterns on the second field or the third field. He was a complete unknown. He's turned into a pretty good player. So I'm much more optimistic that Petit Frere can be better than Quesenberry. Better than Quesenberry, which is an upgrade from last year. Am I wrong? He's way more athletic. Way more of a prospect.
There's more of an upside.
Higher ceiling.
Sure, because he's younger.
There's only one way he's going to get the experience, and that's to get him in there.
Right.
He seems to have the makeup, the cerebral qualities. I hear a lot of good things about that, how well he's picking up some of the nuances. So why is that any more of a question than it was last year when Quesenberry was playing? Quesenberry got worked a lot. Take a look at his grades last year. They were not good. He was the weak link. That's why they were looking for a new guy there.
No, I know.
And look, everybody's going to whiff on picks. The 2020 draft is a really interesting study because of COVID. And the complete miss on Wilson, the plan of let's let Conklin go, and then we'll let Dennis Kelly go, and we're going to draft the guy in Wilson. That's one thing. But it doesn't always work out. You're going to have to, go with the flow a little bit here. But Quesenberry was a great filler, a guy that came out of nowhere that they didn't have to spend any money for, that got the job done. But it was a replacement level performance that they got. Petit Frere, I think, has a much brighter future, and they're going to live with the ups and downs of him his rookie year. But what was your alternative? You can just sit there and be mad that Radens isn't that good? Okay, that happens. It happens a lot.
I found it, and Nick has learned that I can take over his screen. Oh, you have it turned down. Turn the thing up.
What are you talking about?
The hotkey thing.
Well, I know that you can get in here, but
turn the hotkey up.
You don't know Nate Davis from a jar of Vicks.
There you go. Thank you.
At the time, that was 100% true.
It was.
But look at where Nate Davis is now.
It was. All right. But the 2020 draft still concerns me because they didn't fill right tackle. I think Christian Fulton's a really good player. The running back I think you've upgraded in Hassan Haskins, but you also make a valid point with the COVID stuff that, hey, maybe it was just that and they missed. So that could be it.
You're going to miss. I don't know what people's expectation level is sometimes. Sometimes I feel like there are people out there that believe that you should hit on every first, second, third round pick. You know what I mean? Like, people go nuts if the second round. Look at Radens. And the Isaiah, well, if you miss on a first or second rounder, people freak out. It happens every year to a lot of teams. It doesn't just happen to the Titans. The key is, do you get a good percentage of guys? And it's a low percentage in 2020. I grant you that. There are going to be some drafts, and hopefully this year's draft maybe picks up the slack a little bit. How do you compensate for when you don't hit on draft picks? But I think if you looked at it in comparison to the league, that is something that Floyd taught me very well. Everybody whiffs on the picks. Everybody has got first and second round picks that do not hit. So don't panic. Don't panic.
No panic.
It's okay.
Coming up next, we'll look at
Petit Frere's going to be all right.
You're saying it. He's saying it.
I'm going with it.
He's saying it.
I like him.
Coming up next, we'll look at some other NFL storylines around the league, including what's happening in San Francisco. That's all coming up next. Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
185! Every team needs a quarterback.
185!
That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss, touchdown!
Tim. ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
How that team is built, I think there's a lot to like about them.
Every Tuesday at noon, Tim with Chase, Willy, and D-Mase. Presented by Red Spirit and Wine in Bellevue on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus. A nice end to the upcoming work week. Today, plenty of sunshine, lower on the humidity as well. No rain chances until the weekend. High temperatures take us into the upper 80s to right near 90 for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Celebrate back-to-school season with Hiller. This month only, get free backyard upgrades when you replace essential home systems like a free Traeger grill with a new whole home generator or a free Yeti cooler with a new tankless water heater. And Hiller's keeping you cool for back-to-school with zero-interest financing for up to 12 months on select new HVAC systems. Visit happyhiller.com. Happy you'll be, or the service is free.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Attention sports fans. Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite leagues, including NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. We've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest European slots, and our live dealers are waiting for you at the tables. You need a sportsbook with integrity, longevity, and you need to know you're gonna get paid. You need a sportsbook that offers everything, including live betting, MMA, golf, horses, esports, and all kinds of crazy bets. Call today at 1-800-79-BET-US. That's 1-800-79-BET-US, and they will walk you through setting up an account. Nobody in the industry gives better bonuses than BetUS. Join now, mention BetUS 2022, and you can get up to 200% in bonuses on your first deposit. Nobody beats that. Head to BetUS.com and join today. That's BetUS, where the game begins.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Robbie Stanley.
They get a lead in that game and just totally close the door.
Joe Rexrode.
If he plays next year, it's disastrous.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We'll talk to Jared Stillman at 11:30, get his thoughts on the Titans roster. Chase McCabe and Willy Donick with you. D-Mase will join us at 12:30, get his thoughts on everything. But looking around the league, we haven't spent too much time on this. We asked Tim Hasselback about it as well, but Trey Lance is going to be the starter in San Francisco. Jimmy Garoppolo restructures his contract, basically a 1-year deal for him to be the backup. Took a huge pay cut for him to be the backup. So that's big in San Francisco right now. What does that mean moving forward in still a pretty good division in the NFC West?
I think it's a major question. I have been fascinated because, we're just coming up for air here, right? We've been so in tune with every move the Titans make here for the last month. Every practice, every roster cut, tied up in roster spots 45 through 53, which in the big picture are significant, but really not the meat of what your season's going to be all about. We're just now going to delve into, but what's been going on? Here's the question. If we were doing that with the 49ers, what would you be thinking every day as you watch Garoppolo? He's coming off of all summer long, they've been trying to figure out what to do with him. He's been injured. He had to have surgery. This guy has gotten you to a Super Bowl. He has gotten you to the NFC Championship game a second time. The numbers don't blow you up. He is the classic third-tier quarterback, right? He's got a lot of things he does well. He's not a star. Could you do better? Yeah. Could you do a lot worse? Heck yeah. Here comes Trey Lance. They're turning the reins over to him. They have made that clear. So what the heck has Jimmy Garoppolo been doing? He's been on another field. He's been doing his physical therapy. Has he even been in on the meetings? Has he mentally been there? Or has he been thinking all along, where am I going next?
Yeah,
Am I getting traded today? But now you do this. Yeah, but now you do this. And you shuffle the deck so that basically it's a 1-year deal and then I can just go free and there's no maybe limitations of where I could find a new home. Whereas now he's trapped. The 49ers control his destiny. So that's the one thing is what is Garoppolo's mentality day in and day out now going forward with the team? It's not his team anymore. Then you've got Trey Lance. Is he a surefire? Do we think he's going to be? You mentioned Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes. Is that how it's going to roll? people have expectations of the 49ers being a
like
Super Bowl contender.
I like the coach.
That is probably the biggest benefit of the doubt that anybody gets offensively. Kyle Shanahan basically has this magical thing. We talked about narrative of the national media. The narrative of the national media is this. You can win with anybody. Kyle Shanahan is a scheme guy that, look, the Titans, so many other teams, the Titans I think are one of them, pick up things. It's like the old West Coast offense. There's trends in the league. So many people are trending off of what Kyle Shanahan is doing. He's so good at it. They have Deebo Samuel. They've got George Kittle. They've got a lot to like. They've got powerful players on defense. But that being said, can Trey Lance be himself? Can he be his best with Jimmy Garoppolo just sitting there? What is Jimmy Garoppolo's attitude day in and day out? I think it's really something to watch. So, what do you think?
I think that in the two instances where I think this is the most prominent, where you had Alex Smith give way to Patrick Mahomes, you have Jimmy Garoppolo give way to Trey Lance. I think Alex Smith is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Jury's out on Trey Lance, what he's going to be. But the two things that stand out to me are the coaches. I think Andy Reid, Hall of Fame coach, won a Super Bowl. They made the move. It worked. Ends up winning a Super Bowl. I think Kyle Shanahan is pretty damn good. Could, before it's all said and done, win a Super Bowl. So I get why they're doing it. John Lynch played in this league a long time. Shanahan's been around for a long time with his dad. You know how this league works. It makes sense if you're going to trade up and you're going to spend that kind of draft capital on drafting Trey Lance, then go ahead and see what you got. So I think if there's any chance of it working, it's because they got the right coach, and I think that Shanahan is smart enough to put Lance in a position to succeed and not make it too difficult for him right away. And he knows he has an insurance policy behind him now.
I think because of the narrative of how much confidence people in general who cover the league have in Shanahan, you got a lot of hype on Trey Lance. We've talked about this in our daily fantasy questions of the day. We've hit on Trey Lance. He's a very trendy pick from a fantasy standpoint because people are excited about that scheme, how you can put up numbers, he can run the ball. So I'm really curious. Is that a big upgrade? Do the 49ers get an upgrade this year with Trey Lance in the lineup? I'm not sure that I'm ready to say yes. I'm curious. The other thing is, if he struggles for some reason, if Lance struggles, how much leeway does he have before it always starts with the fans. The fans say, hey, look, Garoppolo's won a lot of games. Let's get Garoppolo in there. You see what could be brewing, right?
But
if they struggle some, it's a natural thing. It happens.
It is
in any circumstance, let alone when you have a guy that was the starter and won a lot of games.
But here's also the difference. The league dictated this a little bit because when Andy Reid made the change, they traded Alex Smith. They sent Alex Smith to Washington. San Francisco was unable to do that. So you're right. So that definitely could be a factor here that Jimmy G's still on the roster, whereas Alex Smith was not. So there could be, but Trey Lance he's going to have to not look over his shoulder and worry about Jimmy G. And Shanahan is going to have to be the one to help fix that.
This is another thing I haven't looked closely enough at is the reworking of Garoppolo's contract. Does that make it more tradable? If the 49ers, I'm sure ideally the 49ers would love for somebody to go down, a desperate team calls them and says, we got to trade for Jimmy G. What do we need to give you? In other words, they have him in a serious leverage position that to this point hasn't materialized. We've been talking to Tim Hasselbeck about him all summer, right? And Hasselbeck's answer has been the musical chairs have stopped, especially with Mayfield. Mayfield had to work real hard to get a job. Carolina had to move a bunch of stuff around to get him in there. And when that happened, Jimmy G was still hurt, and there was just no logical place, especially with Seattle basically electing to say, we're out of the mix this year. We're going youth. We're going to set the table for next year. If that means, we win 3 or 4 games, then that's fine. We'll pick high, and there's a lot of quarterbacks coming up. We'd rather do that than go with Jimmy G. When that happened, there was really nowhere for him to go. But that could change in week 1 if a quarterback goes down for the season. That's another thing that could happen here.
615-737-1025, talking about NFL. Also, got some other storylines that we'll hit coming up next. Again, Jared Stillman going to join us at the bottom of the hour, get his thoughts on the Titans roster as you listen to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
You watch the game.
He scores! Philip Forsberg!
We talk the game.
Philip Forsberg stays here in Nashville, hearing the deal is done. 8 years, close to $70 million total.
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
This week in Vanderbilt history, September 3rd, 2011. The Commodores began the James Franklin era with a 45-14 win over Elon in Nashville. Quarterback Larry Smith passed for a pair of touchdowns and ran for one as Vandy opened up the season with a victory to put an end to a 7-game skid. Vandy went for it on 4th down 3 times, resulting in 17 points, and turned 3 forced turnovers into touchdowns, including a Trey Wilson 21-yard interception return for a score. And that was 14 seconds after the second touchdown by Smith. It was 13 for 27 for 125 yards passing on the night to go with 34 yards on the ground. Later on in the evening, the Vandy debut of quarterback Jordan Rodgers, who had sat out the previous season with a shoulder injury. His first pass was to Chris Boyd for a 30-yard TD to cap the scoring for the Commodores. And the game also marked the start of a 3-game win streak to open up Franklin's tenure as coach, with victories to follow against UConn and Ole Miss. Vanderbilt 45, Elon 24 in 2011. This week in Vanderbilt history, I'm Kevin Ingram.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, the beach is just the beginning. Because here, there's so much more to explore. So let's paddle, and maybe even parasail. Let's hit the trails, the coffee shops, the quaint boutiques, and craft breweries. And then let's indulge in some fresh seafood with a sea view. From the Gulf Coast to the Bay, there's something for every taste and every interest. So let's make the most of every sun-drenched minute, and let's shine. Start planning your next escape at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
Angie's List is now Angie, your home for everything home. With Angie, you could cross your next project off your to-do list before this ad is over. Just tell us what you need, and we'll handle the rest. Sending a top pro to get it done. Or browse reviews, compare quotes from pros, and connect instantly, all for free. For everything from routine maintenance to a dream remodel. Because however you want your project done, we'll get it done. Download the app or go to Angie.com. That's ANGI.com to get started.
Cromwell Media, who owns this radio station, is observing a significant milestone this month. Our founder, Bud Walters, is celebrating his 50th year as president. Joining Bud with anniversaries of their own are Max Hurst and Scott Meyer with 102.5, 106.3 The Game, and Ryan Burke in our sales department is also celebrating 1 year with us. From 1 year to 50 years, Cromwell Media is a great place to work, and you're invited to join us. Send an email to together@cromwellmedia.com and tell us about yourself. That's together@cromwellmedia.com.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUZ HD2 Laverne.
Robbie and Rex Road, Chase, Willy, and D-Mase.
Stowing and Company. Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushes.
Awesome game 7.
Checkered flag in the air. The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Now let's see if we can bring them to life, all right?
Bringing you entertainment and informative sports talk during your workday.
Smart, funny, classy, and I like him a lot.
This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase with Chase McCabe, Willy Donick,
Mason, touchdown, Tennessee,
and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
This is a new level of geek you got going on here.
11 o'clock hour, Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming on the Game Nashville app as well. Talking about the NFL and cuts around the league. You can always weigh in at 615-737-1025, our phone line and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Chase McCabe, Willy Donick with you We talked about the NFC West there for a minute, Willie. Now the AFC West, and I'm going to read this verbatim in our group text. Will the Broncos flourish with Russell Martin? Now, he was a great catcher for the Dodgers.
Great catcher from Canada, cannon of an arm. Came up with the Dodgers. He can be a great quarterback in the NFL, I believe, for Denver. Played Canadian football growing up, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Russell Wilson.
I think I was thinking Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's a pretty good baseball player, too, by the way.
He was. He was he a pitcher? No, or outfielder?
I think he was an infielder. Actually. I'm not – don't quote me on that. But the narrative – again, we go with narrative. Very, very deep division. Maybe the best division top to bottom in the National Football League, the AFC West. The Broncos theory is we've got all the rest of the pieces. We have the team that can win. We just haven't had the quarterback. But we've built it to the point where if we get a quarterback, we can win, even in that division. I was listening to a podcast, the MMQB, which I think is really good. They have the Broncos ranked ahead of the Titans by about 5 spots in their overall power rankings. What does that mean at the end of the day? Nothing. But it just is intriguing that a team that has not really gotten anything done the last handful of years, the Broncos, suddenly now with Russell Wilson are a sexy pick to be a sleeper team. And I don't disagree with that.
I don't know. Sleeper team is probably the best way to put it. But you know what, Willie? I still have them last in the West.
See, I don't think so.
I'm telling you, the sleeper team.
I like their team. Now,
the sleeper team in that division, the Raiders.
I don't think they're a sleeper. They made the playoffs last year.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't think they have a chance of winning the division. They just want to hand it to Kansas City or even the Chargers. I think the Raiders are going to win that division.
I'll challenge you on that. I definitely put my chips to Denver before I put them with Vegas.
You can mark the tape on that, Nicholas.
Okay, mark the tape. Here's the other part of the story with Russell Wilson. The behind-the-scenes mini feud that they, to their credit, they kept somewhat on the backdrop, even though it was brewing there. Russell Wilson saying, look, you got to get me some help here. You got to protect me. There was kind of a Russell will make it work. Doesn't have much of a running game. Pass protection's terrible, but Russell will make it work. And he did to a degree. Now, I think Russell Wilson's sitting privately going, okay, I'm getting up there in age, but now you give me some weapons. You give me a running game. You give me some very talented receivers that haven't had the level of quarterback play they're going to get, and I'm going to have a huge year. I think he's driven by that. I think he got kind of frustrated there the last couple of years in Seattle. It all kind of fell apart last year. But the years before that, even when they were making the playoffs, I think there was a sense of, I'm going to get killed out here.
Sure.
He was taking a lot of hits, but some think that he's going to have to adjust when he goes to the new team. So I think it could go a lot. I think they could finish last. They could. But I also think they could win double-digit games and get in there. I'm much more skeptical on the Raiders. Josh McDaniel goes in there. We know how, speaking of the Broncos, it didn't go very well when he was a young head coach. He's waited a long time. That seems like forever ago.
Yeah, but
it's been a while
from that.
And then there's the whole thing of him sort of flirting with the Colts and then not taking the job. Remember that? So this is a much anticipated second go-round as a head coach. Has he matured? Is it more of a Lane Kiffin? Too much too soon? Still a good football mind and now is ready to be the overall manager and leader of a team. The number one headline, of course, is they now have Devontae Adams. They also, remember this, are not committed to Derek Carr after this year.
Mm-hmm.
He is very much in play like Garoppolo at the end of the season. He could be part of the musical chairs. Where's he going? How does he click with McDaniels? There's a lot of hype. But somebody's got to finish last in that division. Speaking of that, I hear people picking San Diego, the LA Chargers, as a legit Super Bowl contender. And Justin Herbert as a legit, we mentioned it during the summer. In the summer odds making, you could find websites that had Justin Herbert not just to be a guy that has a great season, the MVP favorite, the favorite to win the MVP over Mahomes, Brady, Rodgers, the usual suspects. That is a huge leap from, hey, here's a team that hasn't made the playoffs in a while. They had a nice season. They won a playoff game or two and then bowed out. We're talking about MVP Justin Herbert.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think
what's
Burrow
going to
and
give?
Herbert.
What's going to give? We haven't even talked about the Chiefs. We take the Chiefs as a given that they're going to be in the mix here. But that's an extremely intriguing division. And what do we know about the division? The Titans play them.
Okay, so
the Titans play
last year, if you remember, we did our predictions, and I know I did. I had the entire NFC West making the playoffs, and 3 of the 4 did. Okay, and obviously,
Russell Wilson goes from that division to this division
to the AFC West, and the Super Bowl champion came out of the NFC West. This year, I think everybody believes the AFC West is by far the best division because of the quarterbacks. Do you think it's more likely, if you erase history from your mind last year, if you're putting them together, what has a better chance? Do you think this year the AFC West, all 4 teams making it, has a better chance than last year with the NFC West?
I'd say it's about the same. I don't think it will happen. Just mathematically, that's just awfully tough.
And I think the AFC is stronger as a whole.
The AFC is very deep. I think that's a big point that you're making, is because in the NFC that you looked around to the other divisions, you're like, Panthers, Falcons.
Okay,
there's just so many other teams that you're like, I just don't see it. NFC East, every year we're kind of like, is anybody beyond? Like, they actually did get 2 in last year.
They did,
which was surprising. But
they did.
You looked at it going into the season, you're like, I don't see a wild card team here. So that lent itself to having the mathematical improbability of having 4 teams from the same division get in. So I'm going to say it doesn't happen in the AFC South.
Okay.
Because there's too many other teams, too many other good teams.
I agree. So let's go. I'm going to go real quick, division by division, and you give me the potential number of playoff teams out of the division. It doesn't have to completely match up, just when I say potential.
Okay.
AFC East. So Jets, Bills, Dolphins, Patriots.
2.
I agree with you there. I think 2. AFC North. Ravens, Steelers, Browns, Bengals.
2.
I'll say 2. South. Texans, Titans, Colts, Jags.
2.
West.
3. So now, how many? If that fell, does that give us too many?
Yeah,
2, 4,
that's
6,
too many.
9, and what are we? 7 make it?
Yeah. There's gonna be some good teams that don't make the playoffs.
So would you agree, based on that exercise right there? There's no way 4 are going.
It would be tough.
There's no way 4 are going.
Because I can even make an argument with the AFC North that the Browns probably aren't going to make it, because unless Jacoby Brissett just tears it up in the first 11 games, but they're probably not going to make it. So
but they've got some players.
They do.
They do. They
got a good defense.
They have a very good defense.
So
they have a running game.
They have
a very good running game.
They have Amari Cooper now, a receiver. I mean, they've added him.
The passing game is the question. The passing game is the question. But if you can run the ball and play defense,
so they're going
to win some games.
They're kind of a wild card. Yeah. I think Pittsburgh's a wild card.
Yes. I don't see those 2 teams as playoff teams, but I don't see those teams as we're just checking out and we're mailing it in and we're trying to get the first pick.
Look, the Bengals, a lot of people are thinking the Bengals were a one-hit wonder.
I could see them falling back, perhaps. But they're, they got to the Super Bowl, so they're a chance. The team that I think is going to bounce back is the Ravens. I really like the Ravens as a bounce back candidate. They might. I think that would be my pick to win that division today. We won't officially do this until next week, but I think I'm leaning that way for them to win that division. So, like, what's the division that only one makes it? That's a tough one. I can see that happening there. I can see it happening in the East. Certainly, you can see it happening in the South. Right? The wheels could fall off for the Titans or the Colts. Right? A couple injuries here and there, it changes the course of everything.
Let's go to our signing update desk. Where did Laurel Murchison sign?
He signed with the Titans.
Oh, so he's back.
Yeah, he's back.
Okay. Well, so add 2 people. Well, you put Laurel Murchison signs. I'm like, okay, where?
I thought you might know.
Okay, so chalk another one up for the 2020
draft represented.
Yeah. Okay. So
I
how
kid
did that
because
work?
I care.
So with McMath going on IR, that gave a spot for Murchison. Is that how that worked?
I guess that opens up that spot. I think
doing this in real time.
You're going to see a lot of movement with the roster today.
Yeah,
I just feel like you're
this
going
used to happen over Labor Day weekend every year, and it was a constant shuffle. So I'm guessing all the way through Labor Day again. From now until then, you'll see a constant musical chairs. Because at some point, you got to start the game plan. And you got to start role definition. And I'm sure they're already well on their way to doing that.
Well, let's talk about some role definition coming up next.
Okay.
So, of what we think right now as the roster is incomplete. Jared Stillman coming up at the bottom of the hour. But first, Willie, tell us about Lone Pronto.
All right, let's talk Lone Pronto. I'm in the process of working with them. You've heard me talking about these guys a lot. And I can tell you firsthand, they absolutely back up what they tell you that they're going to do. They have a very good process. And I've gone through the refi process in the past, and there used to be a lot of paperwork. You guys know that. If you've done it before, you're like, oh, man, tell me about it. You got to get this pay stub over here. You got to go over here. You got to meet with these guys. You got to get this. They've got a really good, smart, streamlined system at Lone Pronto, and it takes a lot of that paperwork out of the mix. It's digital, and you don't leave your house, and you get them what they need to get the process going. That's a really big plus. The other thing is they're going to get you the best rates that they can possibly get you if you're looking to refi. And why would you want to refi? Well, if you're a homeowner, your home's value is way up right now. You might need some cash to address some things, whether it's paying off credit cards or paying a tuition for a school or a car loan, whatever it might be. Lone Pronto is ready for you to make that phone call, and they can get the machine going, and they can get it going fast. All digital, super fast process, virtually zero paperwork, and no hassle. So call Lone Pronto and get this moving and start addressing the financial needs that you may have. Maybe it's a remodeling project you want to do this fall. Put a new roof on your house, add a patio, remodel a kitchen. You need some cash to do that? Lone Pronto can help you do it because your home's value is up right now. Give them a call at 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
He looks like 1,000 MAC-level quarterbacks I've seen in a college game.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
The coaching staff kept him and got rid of the other guys.
He'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
If he's so great in the locker room, then give him a coaching gig.
Chad Withrow is presented by Regal Realty Group on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Folks, Joe Rexford here, inviting you to be ready for game day when college football kicks off this week. Right now, new customers get $150 in free bets guaranteed for week one. Just place a $5 bet, you can get $150 in free bets, win or lose. You can go same game parlay, live betting, all kinds of odds boosts. You can go national championship futures. I know this week the big game, Tennessee, Ball State. I would go ahead and give those points and go with the Vols. I think they're going to roll and put up a lot of points in that game. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, now's the perfect time to give it a shot. See for yourself why it's America's #1 sportsbook. Download the app, sign up today with promo code Joe102. Place a $5 bet to get $150 in free bets guaranteed to kick off the football season. Again, the FanDuel Sportsbook app, promo code Joe102. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbet.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Men, are you asking yourself questions like, why am I gaining fat? Why is my energy or sex drive down and maybe haven't been getting the exercise you need? If you want to get back to the man you used to be but just don't have that youthful energy, that edge you once had, you very well might have low testosterone. Low T causes all kinds of issues, from a reduced libido, lower drive, and bad sleep patterns to problems with muscle gain, bone density, and more. It may even contribute to erectile dysfunction, and if this sounds like you, it's probably time to get treated for your low T. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've treated thousands of men for low T. We've seen them put on muscle, add to their energy, improve their sex lives, get better sleep, and just feel better. Plus, if you're like most men, you'll see results in only a few weeks. So make an appointment today and experience how testosterone therapy can truly change your life. Your initial appointment is only $99 with results in minutes. Call today, 615-208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments, extra results vary.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry.
I'm ready to step this up a notch.
You're listening to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming on the Game Nashville app. Jonathan Hutton coming up at the top of the next hour. Tune in for Nashville Sounds Baseball tonight at 7:05 on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds are home at First Horizon Park, taking on the Memphis Redbirds, AAA affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan is presented by 312 Pizza and Farm Bureau Health Plans. I'll be in attendance tonight. You can weigh in on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. So, Willie, let's talk about defining some roles for the players on this team, and what that means for this roster. Now, again, I think looking at the offense, we know that running back is not going to change. That's
okay,
go to
but
Derrick Henry.
let's get into the weeds on that, though. Okay, Derrick Henry averaged 27 carries per game last year. There's no way that that's a smart strategy this year. You cannot expect him to have to do that this year. Now, maybe I'll be proven wrong, but I think you're really rolling the dice, and you're asking for a big breakdown if you ask that much of him at this stage of his career. I know he's a special guy, but it's Derrick Henry. He's different.
Yeah,
he's elite. But
I want to see Hassan Haskins play some.
This is where I ask the question of role definition. How do they rotate those guys? To me, Hilliard is a really good running back. And I think now that you have him for a full off season, you could really take a look at what he does well. He can work on some of the things that could help him get on the field more. Remember, why am I even blanking on his name? Who was the third down back? Who was the third down back last year that got in there? And you're like, was it McMillan? What's his name?
I thought it was Dontrell Hilliard.
No. I'm talking about before Henry got hurt.
Well, Darrington Evans got hurt.
No.
There was another one?
Yes, absolutely. No, you'll know who I'm talking about. He played third down. Oh, he played the 2-minute drill. And I only have one arm because the microphone arm doesn't stay up. But I'll find this in a second.
Need some Blue Chew.
But what is...
We've lost Nick.
But what is...
What was that guy's name? I know who you're talking about.
I'm going to tell you in 10 seconds. But the point is, how do I get my game plan in role definition?
You're not thinking of Kari Blasingame, are you?
No. Jeremy McNichols. That's who I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Jeremy
okay.
McNichols.
Oh, there you go.
He played a lot, sort of. He was in there a lot, and you're like, why? This is all they got? So now that you fast forward and you saw life without Derrick Henry for a half a season.
Text line blew up.
You discovered, Jeremy McNichols. I mean, he's a distant memory now, right? Jeremy McNichols.
Yeah.
And he wasn't half bad. Boise State, he had his moments. But he was the guy that when Derrick Henry came out, you're like, this is who they have. Now you've discovered Hilliard. Hilliard is a big upgrade from McNichols as a ball carrier. I hope that what we're going to find out is that Dontrell Hilliard can catch the ball. He had 19 catches for only 87 yards last year. That's not all that great. Can he expand on that if he is your third down back? And that's what I'm curious about. That's where you start, because even when Derrick Henry was at his height, they would bring in McNichols to be the third down back. Pass protection, he had 28 catches last year for 240 yards. Hilliard, we know, can run the ball. He averaged 6.3 yards per carry last year. So are there going to be a couple series where Hilliard's in there to run and just play the whole series and give Derrick Henry a break? How do I design it so Derrick Henry is more of a 20-carry guy? To me, that's around the number I'm looking for. 20 carries a game. 20 times 17 is still 340 carries. That's a ton. That's still a lot of carries. So I want to get it down towards 20. I don't know if Mike Vrabel can do it, though. I don't know if he's got it in his DNA. And then there's Haskins.
Right.
Who I like. He can catch the ball a little bit.
Pause for a second.
Okay.
Because I want to throw an idea at you. This kind of helps with both things. Because if just Hilliard is out there, I think the other team's going to look at it as, okay, they're probably throwing him the ball. It's just it becomes a little predictable. Would you be okay with some decoy plays that have Henry and Hilliard or Henry and Haskins on the field at the same time, but Henry's not the feature guy? It's still – he's on the field, but he's still not getting the wear and tear.
This is all a mystery because in this day and age, they're not going to show you when we're out there at those practices what they have in mind. These are the things they've been working on behind the scenes because I can see that as a possibility. I would also tell you that they did not skip a beat last year. They skipped a beat. It's not the same as Henry back there, but they ran the ball really well with Hilliard and Deontay Foreman, as we know. Hilliard had 6.3 yards per carry. That's the highest on the team last year. He did break a couple of long runs, but he's got the capability. He's got a burst. So how much are we going to see Hilliard? How much are we going to see Haskins? Because speaking of third down, Haskins showed the ability in the preseason games to catch the ball out of the backfield. We also think that Haskins is a very good zone blocking scheme runner where he makes the one cut and runs powerfully, can carry tacklers with him a little bit. So I am really curious. I think they've got material. They've got the ability now, more so than they have before when it was the guy we couldn't even remember his name, Jeremy McNichols, as the backup.
I know people are still texting.
Yeah.
We got it now.
But you have now the clubs in your golf bag to lighten the load some on Derrick Henry with the idea that you will get more out of Derrick Henry. Fresher for the fourth quarter. Fresher for the rest of the season. Maybe less wear and tear long term. But will they do it? That is my question running back wise on role definition.
Yeah, and I a couple of texters have said, including Nick and Franklin, give me Haskins as a third down back over Hilliard. Seems like Haskins never lost yardage, just like his last college year. I mean, I'm fine with it. I want Hassan Haskins. I was very, very excited about that pick when they made it. I want Hassan Haskins to have a role on this team. And I'm not necessarily saying that he's got to be the second back and while you're saying you do want to take some carries away from Henry, but he's obviously got to be productive, but I want him to do something. I want them to use him more. And Hilliard too. I think all three of them have a role.
But what is the role? That's why this is the whole topic here is role definition. Who do you see as the second guy? Is it Haskins or is it Hilliard? I like Hilliard. I really do.
I think they both have a place.
Okay, but you're the play caller. You got to decide that. You put the personnel groupings in there. You're the one that's got to tell Henry you're sitting this series out, or
do they like to do these 2 tight end sets. I love when offenses have 2 backs on the field at the same time. And I feel like
that's a really interesting question.
I feel like they have wanted to do that. They've just never really had the personnel to do it. But they kind of experimented with it when I'm blanking on his name. Why am I blanking on his name? The running back from Dallas that went to Philly came here. DeMarco
Murray. Oh, yeah. You're going way back there. Yeah. You're going in the way back machine.
But when
they did try to do that some.
When they drafted Henry, there were a couple of plays where you saw DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry on the field at the same time.
Feel better about yourself because you're going back 4 or 5 years. I couldn't remember the guy from last year, McNichols. I'm getting old. But this is where the creativity. They had to get creative last year when they lost Henry. But what they found over the course of several weeks, despite having all kinds of issues at receiver and finding weapons, and they couldn't ever get Julio Jones on the field, they had A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown had the great games, but also was dealing with a lot of stuff too. He missed some games in there. But they found that they could still run the ball. Now, they've got some different pieces on that offensive line to have you question, can they still do that, run block the way that they have done? But I think from the talent standpoint, they figured out that they didn't have to change a whole lot. Remember the whole thing that Todd Downing said, I don't want to have to jerk the wheel.
Right.
I want to just keep my offense the same. I don't want to change my entire offense. He said that before they ever took a snap without Derrick Henry, knowing that they wouldn't have him. Their mentality of we can still run our offense without Henry hopefully will serve them well this year and give them the confidence that when Henry is in the game, we don't have to run him into the ground. We don't have to run him 27 times. To me, I want to see right away what's their plan with Hilliard and Haskins, who I think, they've got something there.
Coming up next, we'll talk to Jared Stillman of Stillman & Company, get his thoughts on the Titans 53 and role definition as well. But first, Willie, tell us about QC Kinetics.
All right, let's talk QC Kinetics. They want to get you moving. They want to keep you active. They have got a great plan to do that. All natural regenerative medicine that has been a breakthrough for so many people who may have been just a little bit frustrated by the traditional methods. Can't shake the joint pain. They've tried different things. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But if you're looking for something new and exciting to handle that joint pain and keep you active, get you back to the activity that you're used to with your hiking, your tennis, your golf, whatever it is that you love to do, you owe it to yourself to check out QC Kinetics. It might be for you. You hear Emmitt Smith doing the commercials. He's been a guy that's been a great spokesperson for them. And they're now in our listening area as well as all across the country. QC Kinetics has that highly concentrated healing property from your own body that they use to restore and repair the damaged tissue in your joints. The nation's leader in this exciting breakthrough natural approach to eliminating joint pain. Give them a call. It's a free consultation at QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024.
Hey, I'm Ryan Johansson, and this is Smashville.
Back to Johansson, and Johansson tips it in with one hand on the stick.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Harman Energy is now hiring drivers for their Nashville team. Harman Energy is Tennessee's petroleum solution for major industries. Right now, they're offering competitive compensation. Fuel tank wagon drivers start at $26 an hour. Fuel transport drivers, $29 an hour. Plus, there's a $4,000 sign-on bonus for CDL drivers. Top quality benefits and a great place to work, Harman Energy employees provide totally outrageous customer service. Come be an employee owner with the Harman team. Apply now at harmanenergy.com.
This September, the Chainsmokers hit Music City at the Blended Wine and Music Festival. 24 bands, 2 stages, 1 weekend, all under the Nashville skyline. Performances by the Chainsmokers, Loud Luxury, Sick Kick, Fetty Wap, Breland, and more. September 10th and 11th, the ultimate social experience drops in Music City. Enjoy a massive 100-foot wine tent, culinary village, and wellness lounge. Get tickets now at blendedfestival.com.
When it's more than just your lawn, it deserves the Kubota Z400. Get a head-turning offer on class-leading speed, agility, simple deck height adjustments, and a quality cut. When you need comfort and performance, then you need the professional-grade Kubota Z400. Right now, get the Kubota Z400 mower for 0 down, 0% APR for 24 months or save $300. Now through September 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer. 3 locations to serve you: Columbia Kubota, Franklin Kubota, and Krebs Kubota. ColumbiaKubota.com or FranklinKubota.com or KrebsKubota.com.
312 Pizza Company is a family-owned restaurant located in the heart of Germantown, serving up authentic Chicago-style eats right here in Nashville. 312 Pizza Company only uses the best all-natural ingredients and makes everything in-house from scratch every single day. And trust me, you can taste the difference. They've got deep dish pizza, thin crust pizza, their Italian beef. You'll taste the freshness. Stop in for a pint of local beer and a slice of pizza, or order online at 312pizzaco.com. 312 Pizza Company, Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into Chase, Willy, and D-Mase.
Somebody Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, this is Pekka Rinne. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming on the Game Nashville app. Coming up at 2 o'clock, Stillman and Company. We say hello to Jared Stillman, who's on with us right now. And I know, Jared, you have questions about the Titans roster, as we do, but just your overall takeaways of the initial 53.
I think my initial takeaway was listening to you guys talk about running back, and you guys left out the most important player on the Titans, Julius Chestnut, who made the team, and I couldn't believe it. I was floored yesterday when I heard that Julius Chestnut was making the team, and this is why I turned to Willie on this one, because there have been, I guess there's 20-something, this would be the 23rd season of the Titans. There have been probably 22 of these undrafted free agent running backs to get all these carries during the preseason. And every year there's a DeJuan Hicks or a Skip Hicks or Mekhi Sargent. And never those guys make the team, or never are they ever any good. And they kept Julius Chestnut as a 5th running back. I couldn't believe that. But the one thing that stood out to me is the Titans' schedule. There's some really important games in the first month, and that includes Indianapolis, the Raiders, the Bills, huge AFC games. And I think they carried 7 defensive linemen because I think Danico Autry might be headed to IR, which would put him out for the first 4 games of the season. I can't remember the last time Autry practiced. TD told me, texted me yesterday during the show, it's a right hand injury. I don't know what that means. With Autry, I say just put a club on it and let him go, but he's obviously a very big part of what they do. So my initial takeaway from the roster as far as actually playing games this season, not the bottom of the roster guys, but it's Autry. Is he going to be healthy for that big stretch early, because he's a big part of what they do. But some of the guys they kept at the bottom of the roster, I don't know why they kept Chestnut or Radens or some of these other guys that really don't belong in the NFL.
Let me just hit you with a general question, Jared, because we're all guilty of this during this time of the year. We get so caught up in the last few guys on the 53. How big of a question really is it, those last couple guys? You used Chestnut as an example. I'm with you. I had to laugh. I was trying to remember some other running backs, and I can't come up with one I was hoping for. But in the big picture, it's much more about Autry. It's much more about Treylon Burks. It's much more about these other guys.
Real quick, Jared, it looks like the Titans have not made any claims on waivers, as those are now starting to come through. John Glennon reporting that the plan, now that Logan Woodside has cleared waivers, they will sign him to the practice squad.
I'm a little surprised by that. I still think the Titans can use some depth on the offensive line. I certainly don't think they can put Dylan Radens into a game. But from what Willie said, I completely agree. I mean, the story of the Titans season, the story of any team in the NFL, it's not about, the 53rd man on the roster. It's a nice story that the Titans played 91 guys last year, but the Titans won the division because of Derrick Henry, Jeffrey Simmons, and A.J. Brown. And that's going to be kind of what defines all these teams. I mean, the Rams won the Super Bowl because of Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp. And that's how these teams are all defined. So I would agree. The idea of keeping Dylan Radunz on the roster to deactivate him every week like they did last year, does that really matter in the grand scheme of the Titans? No, because they'll do just what they did last year, which is if they have injuries at tackle, they'll go get a guy like Bobby Hart on the practice squad, and he'll start over Radunz. Chestnut, I think, is ultimately going to get released, and they're going to put him on the practice squad. They just didn't want anybody else to sign him to their practice squad because they're going to need a running back in practice because I think they plan on the other three running backs all being a part of the offense with which the Titans use. So to answer Willie's question, no, it's about Henry, it's about Tannehill, it's about Burks, it's about Taylor Lewan, Jeffrey Simmons, Kevin Byard. That's what this season will be defined by.
I want to ask you about something you have gone pretty in detail with, and that is Petit Frere starting at right tackle. I'm going to challenge you on something you've been arguing. You've been saying it's a risk to play him. All he's got to do, this is what my theory has been, they haven't invested big in that position. They've whiffed, of course, on Isaiah Wilson, and ever since they let Jack Conklin go, they've been just sort of getting by. It was Dennis Kelly. They've done some different things. So the bar is low. So what makes you think that Petit Frere is any more of a risk than Quesenberry, who was a guy that was just off the scrap heap pretty much, and they turned him into a serviceable guy, but he wasn't a real high-rated guy last year. So can Petit Frere really be any worse?
I definitely think he can be worse. I mean, the idea of, okay, well, Quesenberry wasn't that good, I agree with. Quesenberry to me was a replacement-level right tackle. And Dennis Kelly may be a little bit better than that the year before. The question is Nicholas Petit Frere going to be worse than a replacement-level right tackle? I'm with you. If Nicholas Petit Frere can be a replacement-level right tackle for the first 6 weeks of the season and then really learn how to play in the NFL and then maybe like Nate Davis did his rookie year, become an above-replacement player, that's great. And then the Titans have a position they haven't had figured out for 3 years for the next 4 years. I'm totally with you on that. I do worry, though, about Von Miller standing over him in week 2. And those are games that the Titans are going to have to win. The only difference last year, Buffalo was the 3 seed in the AFC, but Buffalo won 11 games last year. The Titans won 12. The difference, that 1 foot that Josh Allen didn't get on 4th down of that Monday Night Football game here in Nashville. So when the stakes are that high and the bar for a tackle is low, I get worried that if it's below the bar of replacement level that they had the last couple of years, that could really hurt this team.
We're talking to Jared Stillman, co-host of Stillman & Company, weekdays 2 to 6 on here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Justin M_NFL is reporting the Titans will sign Chris Jackson to their practice squad. Were you surprised by that move yesterday? Because I thought he had been solid. It was a 7th-round pick. Good depth guy, had played at times. I was a little surprised that they released him.
So a couple of years ago, we were doing, and I don't know if this was just to kill time on the radio, but it was something that I felt like people wanted to hear, Floyd's 53-man roster. Yep. And so Floyd would go over, the guys that he would put on the team, and every time he'd be like, I haven't watched the tape, I haven't been at practice, because he didn't want people to think that, this would be like, I don't know, whatever. So one time he got to like 49 or 48. And I said, you have 49 guys, Floyd. You need 4 more. He goes, you can put whoever else you want on there. I said, that's not how this works. This isn't my 53-man roster. This is your 53-man roster. And he said, I got the 49 guys that belong in the NFL. And I laughed. And he left off like Khalif Raymond and Anthony Ferkser, whatever. But that mindset of, some of these guys don't belong in the NFL. Chris Jackson, I think he belongs in the NFL. Do I think he's an elite corner? Jalen Ramsey? No. But I think he's versatile. I think he's really more suited for a safety. They keep looking for that third safety to come in and play that Dane Cruikshank position. I kind of figured at some point they'd slot Jackson over there. They had Chris Jackson starting outside against the Rams last year on Sunday Night Football, and he did a great job. They played him as a rookie, a 7th-round pick out of Marshall. He started in that Monday Night Football game against the Broncos. he's an NFL player. And the fact that they kept some of these other guys that I don't think belong in the NFL, I mean, I'm scratching my head trying to figure out what they were thinking. Obviously, these other teams aren't all that interested in Jackson, but I think we all remember what the AFC Championship game with guys like Tremaine Brock Sr. looked like. And the Titans are really low on the number of corners. Buster Screen retiring is something that hasn't been talked about a lot, but that did hurt them from a depth standpoint. And so I was really shocked that they let Jackson go. Then again, I thought that Shakur Brown was going to make the football team.
Me too.
And then all of a sudden he got cut. And so I don't know what I don't know, but to your point, I was surprised Jackson got let go. I was surprised that Joe Jones, who, kept knocking fumbles loose in practice and was intercepting balls in the preseason game and had an excellent run of chasing down a wide receiver and played on special teams and all the things Vrabel likes. I was stunned Joe Jones got cut from this team. So maybe I'm not watching the same games they're watching.
Theo Jackson also to the practice squad. Real quick, Jared, before we let you go, wide receiver concerns me. It looks like Racey McMath going to IR. They currently have 4 on the active roster. And we know Woods, Westbrook-Akina, and Traylon Burks are those 3, and then Kyle Phillips, the rookie. What do you think that and Reggie Roberson going to the practice squad too, what do you think they're going to need to do at receiver?
So that fifth, McMath is their deep threat. They'll be okay for a while until he comes back or whatever. I mean, I think what Willy brought up at the very beginning of the interview, what we talked about the idea that it's going to be about the stars. Traylon Burks, I know that people are saying, well, it's not exactly he's replacing A.J. because Robert Woods is in there too, and Traylon Burks has the potential to be a star. He was a star in the SEC. He was a star against Alabama. He was a star the first day of practice. He has the talent. And I think that for this team to be what they want it to be, he is going to have to make star-like plays. Now, all these guys that are stars, Derrick Henry wasn't a star the first day. Kevin Byard didn't have an interception as a rookie. Jeffrey Simmons barely played as a rookie. So it's not like these guys show up in the NFL and all of a sudden are Javon Curse. And, boy, that would be nice if that's what Traylon Burks became. But as far as receivers concerned, I mean, I think that Westbrook-Akina is a good third guy. I think Phillips is a good slot guy. I think they're both reliable. Woods is very reliable. But ultimately, they need a game changer at that position, and the only person that they have that can do that is Burks. And I know that that's a lot of pressure to put on a rookie, but when they trade A.J. Brown for you, that is the message that they're sending, even if they get up at every press conference and say, this is not about replacing A.J. Brown. The reality is trading A.J. Brown for you is you replacing A.J. Brown.
Yes or no, take a flyer on Marcus Johnson?
No. Yes or no, take a flyer on Dennis Kelly? Yes.
Yes. Absolutely. I agree with you on that. All right, Jared, we'll be listening at 2 o'clock today. Thanks for doing this.
See you guys.
Jared Stillman and Company, featuring Caroline Fenton, 2 o'clock today, and you'll also be able to hear from Mike Vrabel and John Robinson. A lot of news coming through about practice squads. We'll get you updated on that, plus role definitions for the wide receiver position. That's all coming up next. Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Let's put the green flag in the air and turn them loose.
Nashville's home for NASCAR.
He's going to try to make a big move here.
It's brought to you by the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. We are your racing station.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus. A nice end to the upcoming work week. Today, plenty of sunshine, lower on the humidity as well. No rain chances until the weekend. High temperatures take us into the upper 80s to right near 90 for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hi guys, it's Andrew. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of the pills? Well, today, Wednesday, August 31st, we're running a one-day special you won't want to miss out on. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most powerful form of wave therapy. This is a technology clinically shown to repair blood vessels and improve blood flow. Even Cambridge has studied our technology. If you're ready to transform your love life, grab your phone. Today is your day. Call us now and you'll qualify for the assessment and ultrasound totally free. You'll also get a gift that can produce powerful results in the bedroom in minutes. You're going to love that, guys. And today only, we're offering 6 tune-up treatments to our patients free. This is our most lucrative offer ever, worth over $1,200. But call today, Wednesday, and qualify totally free. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your love life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now to qualify. This offer ends today. 615-576-5000.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Hey, what's up? It's Chase McCabe here to tell you about my drink of the summertime. You know it, Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Screwball is the first and most awarded peanut butter whiskey in the world, and it's an original, just like me, the suit. I take Screwball as a shot, but it's great on the rocks in an old-fashioned, an espresso martini, and many other recipes. So next time you're out and about, ask for Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2022, Screwball Spirits, LLC, San Diego, California. Whiskey with natural flavors, 35% alcohol by volume.
Jared Stillman.
This is a team that the entire city is losing their minds over.
Caroline Fenton.
It's one of the youngest teams in the league. They don't have a single player over the age of 30.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Play silly underdog picks today. Pick 3 football underdog teams you think will win this week for a chance to win. You can play now at thegamenashville.com or on the 102.5 The Game app. Silly underdog picks is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. We'll do our picks tomorrow at noon here on the show. Looking forward to that.
Get on it, man. It's time.
It is time.
It's here.
Underdog time in Tennessee. All right, a flurry of moves happening right now. The Titans were not awarded any waiver claims, or they didn't make one. We don't know the difference. Ty Gillespie is claimed by the Jags, so he stays in the division, and we'll go to them.
The Gillespie era is over.
It's over. What an era it was. Ben Arthur.
The conditional draft pick and the Duke of Earl. We closed the book.
Ben Arthur of the Tennesseans reporting Mason Kinsey is headed to the Titans practice squad per a source. Also, Chris Jackson going to the practice squad. I've seen reports that Theo Jackson is going to the Titans practice squad. Logan Woodside going to the Titans practice squad.
What about Jermaine Jackson and Janet Jackson?
Janet Jermaine still out there for
What about
them.
Tito?
Tito, I love Tito. Tito not out there. Also, Jordan Roos going to the Titans practice squad. So that's what we're seeing so far about all these moves. The Bears have claimed Alex Leatherwood off waivers from the Raiders, so the former first-round pick going to Chicago. Chicago took 6 players off waivers.
Chicago dipping in. 6 players.
We'll check in with Ryan Porth, see how things are going at the score.
Good grief. Now, remember, I'm assuming this is the case, right? The Bears have a pretty high pick. So they probably get first dibs on a lot of these guys. And the Titans, there may have been a few
26
guys. They're way down there because they were the 1 seed last year. So it was not going to be easy for them to get anybody if they wanted to.
Yeah, for sure. So, again, looking through that. Now, I asked Jared about the wide receivers, and you love talking about role definition. So what is the role? And by the way, the Bucs, Todd Bowles said that they released Logan Ryan yesterday. The plan is to bring him back once they make other roster moves. He was not subject to waivers, so they could easily do that. So Logan Ryan, the former Titan, looks like he's staying with the Bucs. But
another fun tweet based on all these shufflings of rosters. Nick Underhill, I don't know who that is. Ian Book got claimed off waivers by the Eagles. Aaron Schatz, who we've had on many times from Football Outsiders. Dear God, why?
Okay. All right. Here's an interesting
Twitter gonna Twitter.
Aaron Wilson putting this out here. We had speculated that maybe somebody could come back to the Titans. Falcons are signing Michael Pruitt to their practice squad. So they released Michael Pruitt. Now they're going to bring him back on the practice squad.
Let's just keep the reunion going. Is Dennis Kelly next?
Potentially. Terry McCormick reporting Jack Gibbons is not signing with the Titans practice squad today. Stay tuned. That's interesting.
Yeah, I thought they kind of liked him. I thought played a lot in the preseason game.
Titans, Justin M. reporting Titans are signing tight end Thomas Adukoya. I don't know how to say his name. He's been tight end in camp. He's going to the practice squad as well.
So Pruitt and him, and not Hunter.
Yeah, but Pruitt's going to Falcons practice squad.
Oh, Falcons practice squad. Okay.
And this guy's going to the Titans.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were telling me why would I care that he goes to the Falcons?
Because we had talked about maybe he comes back.
So I thought you were telling me he came back. I wanted Pruitt back here.
I wanted Michael back here too. How do you see it right now? 4 wide receivers on the roster. I mean, McMath makes the 5th, but looks like he's going to go to IR, so he'll miss the first 4 games of the season. They will have to do something there. But how do you define the roles of the wide receivers right now?
Okay, this is, to me, a very important question. We talked earlier in the hour about how are you deploying the 3 running backs, Henry, Haskins, and Hilliard, the 3H attack. With the wide receivers, and I'm going to lump the tight ends in here. The first question I have, which I've been saying all camp, is what are your formations? What are your most comfortable formations that you want to run out of? You've got a rookie right tackle. Does that mean more 2 tight ends? Remember the track record over the last 3 or 4 seasons. Generally speaking, the Titans run more 2 tight end sets than just about anyone. Will that continue? I would imagine it will. How much is Chigakonkwo ready to be in there with the responsibilities of the blocking tight end? That's another question I have. I don't see him. I see him and Traylon Burks as being a little bit more of the situational, we've got the packages to utilize their talents as a receiver, and we're going to play to their strengths. They may not be ready for everything right now. And that, to me, could be a very smart approach. Phillips, by the way, Kyle Phillips is probably ready for a little bit more. It seems like all the indicators are that he's ready for that slot role. But how much 3 wide are we going to see? So I see a lot of Austin Hooper, and I see a lot of Swaim. I see those 2 guys as the 2 tight ends a lot. Maximize blocking. Help Nicholas Petit-Frere. What we haven't really gotten a glimpse of is how much is Hooper going to be a main guy in the passing attack. How many targets is he going to get? Last year, as it ended up turning out, we all thought Anthony Ferkser was going to have a pretty good year because he would have great matchups. They were going to run a lot of 2 tight ends. It didn't really materialize. He didn't have a great year. Is Austin Hooper going to be a big upgrade there and remind you a little bit more?
I think he will
doing it a different way as Jonnu Smith, but being a threat in the play-action game, in the blocking game. I want to see that. And then how long will it be before Traylon Burks can work his way up to? As you heard Jared say, a lot of the really good Titans players did not star on day one, didn't play all the time on day one. Our co-host, Derek Mason, took a couple of years before he became an every down threat and a Hall of Fame caliber guy. So what do we think they can do with Burks while he learns the position? And in the meantime, can they get solid production from Akine, Nick Westbrook-Akine? Because he's a key guy. Well, because I'm envisioning okay, we've got some packages, we've got some designs. I want Burks to really work on these during the week, and then boom, at key times when we need a big play, we can use it. This is all, perfect planning. You never know how the game is going to go. But I want to be able to see some contributions from Burks, I'm hedging my bets on is he going to get 7, 8 opportunities each game. But if I could get a couple of nice little plays going his way each game early and then grow from there, I'm good with that. And then Woods is a guy that I really would like to lean heavily on in game one. And I think health-wise, I feel like that's a check mark. A couple months ago, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure that Robert Woods would be active in the first game. But to his credit, he's really worked hard, and he's been ready to practice from day one. He looks like he's a full goal, and I'm knocking on wood that that's a pillar that they can use. He and Hooper, to me, are going to be very, very important guys early on in the season. The next guy would be Westbrook-Akine, who knows the offense. And those guys they probably aren't going to light the world on fire with big plays. But can they be steady in the receiving, the way they distribute the ball with a good running game to give you good offense early in the year, while the guys who maybe can change a game, Chikakonkwo, Traylon Burks first and foremost, develop into guys who really understand what they're doing there. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you take Okonkwo and Burks out of the mix from a receiver standpoint, there's nobody really that scares you.
No.
At all with their talent. Okonkwo is a unique guy. I feel like
I think he
could be really good, but how soon can you see that? How soon can you expect that? And Burks is the obvious.
Coming up next, we'll talk to Jonathan Hutton, Outkick 360, as we continue the Titans conversation. The practice squad's starting to come together as well. Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
You watch The Game.
Shot on the score. Philip Tomasino on the power play.
We talk The Game.
I think the Predators have significantly upgraded with him in the top 6.
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey football fans, Patrick Mahomes here, and I'm here to tell you that with NFL Sunday Ticket only on DirecTV, you can watch your favorite team no matter where you live. Because NFL Sunday Ticket gives you every live out-of-market game every Sunday afternoon. So switch to DirecTV and learn how to get the 2022 NFL Sunday Ticket season included at no extra cost. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
With choice package and above, 24-month agreement required. Call for details.
Hey, homeowners and home buyers, listen up. Loan Pronto has 30-year fixed rates with APRs in the 4s and 15-year loans with APRs that start with 3. Hey, it's Willy Donick. Don't be confused by the media's hype about interest rates. At Loan Pronto, their rates have plummeted recently, and they're currently refinancing homeowners who locked in a 5 or 6% rate. So if you've got a rate over 5%, or if your lender has you pre-approved or locked in at anything 5% or higher, you need to call Loan Pronto now. Not all lender rates are created equal. Loan Pronto's rates are down big time, and you need to take advantage, whether you're buying, refinancing, getting cash out, or even if you just closed a few weeks ago. Call Loan Pronto today, and you could save tens of thousands of dollars. Loan Pronto can help keep more money in your pocket. Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Hey, it's Jared. Are you looking to move? If so, do yourself a favor and reach out to my friends at TriStar Moving. You can be assured your move will be stress-free because they've got new utility vans to help with pack jobs to separate your high-value or fragile items from the bulk of your furniture, and their movers are carefully picked and highly trained. No one in the game is doing this. TriStar Moving is raising the standard in the moving industry. When you're ready to move, give them a call. TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, or online at nationalmoving.org/radio, and tell them Jared Stillman referred you for 10% off. That's TriStar Moving.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Chase Elliott scores the win in the Ally 400 at the Nashville Super Speedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Now let's see if we can bring them to life, all right?
Bringing bringing you entertainment and informative sports talk during your workday.
Smart, funny, classy, and I like him a lot.
This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase with Chase McCabe, Willy Donick,
Mason, touchdown, Tennessee.
and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
This is a new level of geek you got going on here.
12 o'clock hour, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe, Willy Donick with you. Derek Mason moving his son to college. He'll be back on Friday. We say hello to Jonathan Hutton, who joins us every Wednesday at noon of Outkick 360. You can hear him and Chad and Paul every day, 2 to 5, 94.9 The Fan. Hut, how you doing?
Good afternoon, guys. Doing well. Hope you are.
Oh, absolutely. The Titans making a bunch of moves as they get that roster set at 53. What we know is being reported so far. Logan Woodside is going to the practice squad. No surprise there, as are Reggie Roberson, Mason Kinsey, Jordan Roos, Laurel Murchison, Chris Jackson, Theo Jackson, and a few others as well. But that means Malik Willis is the backup of this team. We kind of felt like it was trending in that direction the last few weeks. Now it's official. What do you think?
They made the right decision, and I think everyone saw it through the progression of Malik Willis over the three preseason games and throughout camp. And really, if you look at where he was in May and what he looked like in OTAs compared to now, I think the coaching staff, Downing, O'Hara, others, not to put them on a pedestal too much here, because Willis is no defined quarterback by any means, but the progression and development that I've seen from May until now has been very good by Malik Willis. I think he's taking to the coaching. We saw him as the preseason games progressed step up in the pocket more. That's not saying it was enough, but more. And from game one to this past week against Arizona, I think it was clear who won the backup job. At long term, there is a great chance for them to develop Malik Willis into a starting level quarterback. He's not there yet. He's not close to what Ryan Tannehill can bring to this team, and if Tannehill goes down, they're in a world of hurt. They were in the same situation last year and the year prior with Logan Woodside too. Even though he was performing well in the preseason, I think everyone agrees there is a huge drop off in overall command of the offense and how they run things. So they invested in Willis, and in this day and age in the league, guys, I wouldn't keep three quarterbacks on a roster, and I think the Titans are using that spot wisely.
Are you as concerned as I am about just the overall depth at the receiver position right now, with the reports of Racey McMath going to IR? He'll miss the first 4 games. They have 4 on the active roster: Woods, NWI, Burks, and Phillips. And then, they're adding some to the practice squad as well. But I feel like John Robinson's going to need to address that position before they take on the Giants.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe it happens before the Giants, Chase. If they're going the veteran route, it makes more financial sense to sign someone after week 1, where the contracts become weekly instead of locked in on September the 10th. So if they are looking for a game plan against New York in week 1, they're going to go a heavy 2-tight, heavy Derrick Henry, and they have a healthy starting group at wide receiver. When they suffer their injury up top, and injuries happen, when that happens, that's when the depth really becomes a massive concern on the outside, like it was last year. But this is I think what we see on the roster is a more tip of the cap to a 2020 version of how the offense was built, which is heavy tight end play, some wide receivers getting involved and needing to make some big catches at big moments. We saw that year too. But I think it's more tight end and running back heavy in the passing game. And that's not necessarily a bad thing for Ryan Tannehill in week 1. Once they get past that game, that's when they can start re-signing players or adding veterans that are on the street. And it's not necessarily a locked-in contract like it would be right now.
Jonathan Hutton from Outkick 360 is with us for 2 segments today. The Colts released Dennis Kelly, which, of course, Twitter went nuts saying that the Titans needed to bring him back. I know I've seen some reports that it may have been batted around. It's not an official thing, but would you take a flyer on bringing Dennis Kelly back as more of an insurance policy for that swing tackle position?
I'd love to see him back here. It's no breaking news. It would be breaking news if they didn't discuss him. They have discussed multiple players. They've traded for players at safety, traded for players at tackle. They should absolutely be discussing Dennis Kelly back in this offense. Kelly, so if you're going to go back and grade Dennis Kelly, the player, on his final year here, he started the season, his final year, at left tackle because Taylor Lewan popped for PEDs. And he was much better at right tackle throughout his tenure here than he was at left. And that is the big concern for me on the line. I think they can do okay, not great, but okay at right tackle as it is right now, as long as Taylor Lewan stays healthy. But he hasn't played a full season since 2017. And when he goes down, that's when the offensive line musical chairs happen, and that's when you can't help majority of the time help on the right side with an extra tight end or an extra running back, because you're also needing to help on the left side. Right now, like if we're just spitballing and what we foresee happening on the front, Petit Frere is not going to be on an island. He's going to have tight end help and running back help. And Lewan will be the player on the island on the opposite side more times than not if we're comparing the two sides. If Lewan goes down, they're screwed on their depth. And that's where you need a vet that can swing around and play both spots. I know Petit Frere was moved around there a bit, and he was the first up whenever Lewan had to go out in one of the joint practices. But that is it's not a good scenario if you're using Radin and Petit Frere on your offensive line in a starting role. That's where things get truly dicey.
Yeah, these are things that they have to be thinking about, all of these possibilities. We have this image, Hut, of what Dennis Kelly was for this team, which was a pretty darn good find. I would raise my hand and say it's one of the bigger things that I sort of joked about on the day of the trade. I was like, who is this guy? Who is Dennis Kelly? Why are they giving up on Dorial Green-Beckham, who at least might still have a pretty decent ceiling? And they proved me totally wrong. Yeah, that was a home run trade. It was a great trade that they made, and they got tons of mileage. But at 32 now, what do we know or not know about his level of play? Can we assume he would be the same level of player as what we last saw him at?
I would assume that for the right side, Willie, because, I think it was a more natural fit for him playing opposite Lewan than it was moving around. And he's known for being the swing guy. He was just better on the right side. That's where I think the more quality play came from him. Look, in the evaluation process, they're going to know him better than anybody based on front office and, of course, having him and knowing his abilities. And also his brother is the passing game coordinator. So it makes sense that he could come in and provide the backup role. I don't think they would bring in Dennis Kelly and start him opposite Lewan from the jump. I think they would use him as the true backup role to Petit Frere. I think they want to develop Petit Frere. And again, I think they feel okay about it, given the fact that the offensive line, as it stands right now, is healthy on the opposite side. That's when, to me, that's when the true value of Dennis Kelly steps forward, is what happens when Ben Jones slides out, and then Aaron Brewer going to be, if you don't have someone active on game day as the true backup center, Aaron Brewer is your backup center, and then you move guys over. They have to come up with all of these solutions, and I'll give them credit. They've done a good job over the last 2 years of doing that, but they have had far better depth over the last 2 years than what they have right now. And Kelly was a big part of that depth, and in some cases, necessity to start. Quesenberry was not a starting tackle last year. He was, but he's a backup tackle that was a starter. And probably that's how I would define Dennis Kelly now. But again, I defer to them on the evaluation.
Yeah, I'd like to think that Kelly was much better than Quesenberry at his best. Yes. Hopefully he is still reasonable. And so let's use that as the barometer. Let's just say replacement level. Let's call Quesenberry replacement level, which is what they got from him. To his credit, he stayed out there, right? He was out there every game. He gave him what he had. Where do you think the ceiling is on Petit Frere, and what's realistic? Can he be better than replacement level as a rookie?
Yes. I mean, we have seen – I mean, Willie, you've been here for the entirety of every era of this team. You've seen a number of late-round picks come through and become strong play. David Stewart was not great his rookie year, but he was fine. He was average, and I'm not looking for a Jack Conklin all-pro caliber rookie season out of Nicholas Petit-Frere. But, I mean, let's be honest here. He's the best option they have with the highest ceiling given their options at right tackle currently. The ceiling for me with Petit-Frere, and I think they view this in a long-term plan, is he plays left tackle. Taylor Lewan has discussed at length about what the future holds for him in Tennessee and the money owed and the guaranteed money left on his contract and all of this and that. Petit-Frere played left tackle last year at Ohio State and played a ton of snaps there. So in the ceiling category, he develops into a true athletic top-tier left tackle. At where he is right now, if we only see some development over the course of his rookie season and beyond, he can play the right tackle position and be a serviceable starter for them across their offensive line. You know, no one's talking about Aaron Brewer the same way we are Nicholas Petit-Frere, but Nicholas Petit-Frere comes in with a much higher ceiling based on being drafted alone than how Aaron Brewer developed within camp over the last couple of seasons and on the practice squad and his development up to where he is now. So I think they see that same type of path for him where they're going to give him help, but I don't think it's not like they put the pads on in joint practices and said, man, this guy needs a year. He needs to, we're going to put him on the back burner. He's going to be inactive, and we're going to see where we are whenever we get to OTAs a year from now. That's how they treated Dylan Radins a year ago. This is the opposite for Petit-Frere. He's starting. Last year, Quisenberry beat out Radins, and it wasn't even close.
Jonathan Hutton, Outkick 360, is with us. Coming up next, we'll look at the defense, as we've talked a lot about the offense, as we continue our conversation with Hutt. That is all coming up next on Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Jared from my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Kick off week one with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Join today to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up with the promo code JGM to get in on all the action. Then you can turn game day into payday all season long. Tons of great bets to make for week one, and I think right now everybody feels pretty good about the Titans against the Giants. You can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. Don't fumble your chance to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with the promo code JGM, and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the National Football League. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789.
Tools of the Game brought to you by Northern Tool and Equipment's Labor Day sale. Save up to 50% on pressure washers, power and hand tools, floor jacks and jack stands, trailer parts, ratchet straps, and more. Find hundreds of deals at Northern Tool and Equipment or online at northerntool.com.
Honey, what's an 8-letter word for difficult to explain?
When we planned on retiring, we never planned on Medicare being so confusing.
What's a 6-letter word for special skills or knowledge?
Fortunately, Farm Bureau Health Plans is an expert on all things Medicare. With 75 years of helping Tennesseans, they helped us understand our Medicare options.
Why are these things so complicated?
Talk to your local representative or visit fbhp.com. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Plan on us.
With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, banking with Capital One is the easiest decision in the history of decisions.
Even easier than choosing Slash to be in your band.
Next up for lead guitar. You're in.
Cool. Yep, even easier than that. With no fees or minimums and no overdraft fees, is it even a decision? That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
Listen to Stillman and Company with me, Caroline Fenton, all season long on ESPN 102.5 The Game for your chance to win Nashville Sounds tickets, courtesy of 312 Pizza Company in Germantown.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
I'm ready to step this up a notch.
You're listening to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Talking Titans with Jonathan Hutton, Outkick 360. Welcome back in, Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. You can hear Outkick 360, 94.9 The Fan, weekdays from 2 to 5. And Hut, when's the fantasy draft?
Coming up next Tuesday at 6th and Peabody. Yeehaw Beer, Old Smoky Moonshine hooking us up with a great spot at the arcade. Live fantasy draft next Tuesday. We always do the Tuesday after Labor Day because rosters, for the most part, are set. We know the injuries, and it allows everybody to draft based on what's going into Week 1, which is just hit us up on Twitter at Outkick360. We'll be happy to consider you for the league. $1,000 cash prize from Two Rivers Ford, among other great prizes. So we hope there's as much interest as there has been in years past.
Well, I have it on good authority of somebody that's going to be in that league, and I have been told I have to come. So you'll probably see me on Tuesday.
I'll do a toast to Chase McCabe the suit that evening.
No doubt. Practice squad reports continuing to come out. Looks like Des Fitzpatrick will also be on the Titans practice squad once again. But as you look at the defense, very heavy at linebacker, except there were a couple guys that I really thought, Jack Gibbons, Joe Jones, I thought they were going to make it. Ultimately, John Robinson decides to keep Dylan Cole, Chance Campbell. Those two did not make it. Did that surprise you at all?
It did on Joe Jones based on what he did in the preseason, 6 teams in 6 years. And it felt in a weird – I don't know why I thought of this situation, but his performance in the preseason felt like Dave Ball back in like 2007, 2008, where he had just tried to scratch onto a roster, found a good fit with a position coach, and he did a great job in the preseason with his sacks and ended up making the roster on the back end, and then it had a role on the defense. And that felt the same way for Joe Jones. Yeah, so in a way, yes. Also, they're going with a younger, Campbell is just a younger version of Will Compton, right? Like that's the version of the player that they've been using on and off the roster for the last couple of years. And we're talking about positions that should not play unless they see an injury during the middle of a game, other than special teams. So it's a role that's clearly defined for special teams, where you're not going to go heavy at that particular position on a two-down player unless you need a big option due to injury, in which case they're probably signing someone if it's a long-term problem. And they also believe Monty Rice is coming back by October. So that's the other thing to factor in when he comes off PUP.
What do you think about the DBs? Ugo Amadi, who they just traded for, he makes it. Trey Avery at corner is somebody, we kind of talked about Chris Jackson a little bit. Also Josh Kalu making it as well. I still think that that's a position that could be tweaked as they go.
Yes, and they're going heavy defensive backs. I think that's also a game plan move for Week 1 and why they were churning the roster so much, trying to get trades for that third and fourth safety for the 5 and 6 defensive back packages. I think just looking at the Week 1 game plan, Saquon Barkley is going to be split out and be used a lot more in the passing game than what we've seen in years past based on Brian Daboll and how they're going to deploy him. And this is where the 5 and 6 defensive back packages come into play, because you need guys at the safety spot, a veteran that can step up and go man-to-man on a tight end whenever things are split out wide, that can also identify a run gap, put the helmet in and go and identify where it's going to open up and make a big stop, and have some veteran savvy on down and distance and where the quarterback is trying to get to based on the route concept of the position that they're covering. And they didn't draft high enough at that position to expect that to happen this year with Theo Jackson. So he's back on the practice squad. It makes a ton of sense that he's there. They can move him up as they continue to develop him. And then they load up on a veteran like Ugo Amadi, who has played a ton of snaps in the nickel role in Seattle. He's played over 600 snaps on special teams throughout his career. And a guy that immediately, Vrabel said it after the game, he's like, you can tell he's played these. We plugged and played him against the Cardinals, and he did okay. Like you could tell his head wasn't spinning. That's what they were searching for, why they made the conditional trades this preseason, because A.J. Moore wasn't that guy. A.J. Moore is a special teams player that did not step into that role. They were trying to find a guy that could, and hopefully, for their sake, they believe that's Amadi. If not, they're going to continue, as you said, Chase, to plug and play guys based on matchups and game plans. And I expect that they think they're going to use the 5 and 6 defensive back packages quite a bit over the course of their season, based on what they've done at inside linebacker and based on how they're going to use Amani Hooker. And if Molden steps in, he's
talking to Jonathan Hutton from Outkick. And Jonathan, as I look over the roster for the practice squad, I feel like they kept everybody they wanted to keep, and I really.
Joe Jones made it.
Joe Jones made it. We all love Joe Jones, but I think I'm taking as a given they really know what they're looking for with particular roles. Some of the ones you're talking about right now, I like that. I find it interesting. You know who had the most players picked up who were cut? And by far, this was the team. Did you see this? I just happened to catch this on the scroll.
You've told me.
I told you. So Chase can't answer it. Hut, you got a guess?
Was it what I would get? I'm just looking. I'm thinking of bad rosters. It was either Chicago or either the Giants or the Jets.
Okay, now remember the question. It's who had their players picked up by other teams after they cut them.
Oh. I thought you meant who picked up the most players. Gosh.
Well, I think Chicago is the answer to your question, right? They claimed 6. But who had the most players picked up? This one will surprise you.
Is it the Raiders?
It's the Jets. 7. The Jets cut 7 guys that other teams picked up and put on their roster. I find that really interesting because it's like there's a game that you play, right, Hut? There's, who's the least attractive to other teams, because we'd like to keep this guy around. Like Joe Jones is a great example. Chris Jackson is a great example, right? But you have to kind of hope and roll the dice that nobody likes these guys.
Yeah, and by and large, teams get back the guys that they cut because they keep their own. And it's based on the development. It's based on the time spent since April and May, in March, since March in some cases, where you've invested this, so let's try to get them back. The 16-man practice squad, the 6 spots that you can devote to the veteran caliber players also plays a huge factor in how teams are maneuvering this. You can protect 4 of the 6 or 4 of the 16. So I think we tend, as a football community, to overvalue what we see week in and week out. Like, oh, Joe Jones is going to be claimed by another team. Well, he's on his 6th team for a reason. No knock on Joe Jones, but that's how it works. If you want him back, chances are the Titans can get him back. So, yeah, it seems like the Jets let go of the wrong players.
Yeah, and we probably, honestly, when you say that, we probably should have been thinking that way all along with Woodside. So it's almost like, unless from the get-go, no matter how well he played or no matter how well Willis played, the real question was anybody going to pick up Woodside? It became very apparent that nobody was, and so they've got him in their midst if they need him.
Yep, and Willis didn't come in and just completely look lost, so that allowed them to make that move, and they have a guy who they say and we believe is very good in quarterback meeting rooms, and he operates the offense, and Woodside's in a perfect role for them where they can protect him now as a veteran on their practice squad every week if they so choose among the 4, and he can be there in case of emergency. If something happens to Tannehill during the week, he can be brought up to the roster now. So they maneuvered that perfectly given the fact that they invested the pick in Willis.
All right, roles are my big word of the day. What do you see Treylon Burks' role in week 1?
This is the biggest question I have about the offense right now, Willie, because I think I can tell you the role of every wide receiver except for him, based on what we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I can look at Kyle Phillips and say, Kyle Phillips feels like 45 to 50 catches this season for like 550 yards, like a third down guy who knows where the sticks are.
I love that.
Right? But like I can spitball this. I don't know. So is Treylon? Here's my dilemma: is Treylon Burks a 700-yard receiver, or is he a 1,100-yard receiver? Because A.J. Brown was a 1,000-yard receiver his rookie season, and while I'm not trying to judge Burks based on A.J. on quantity, there are elements of what they're going to miss that Burks is going to be required to bring to this offense, the big moment plays. So, that needs to be his role. They may roll out with two tights and go with Woods and Westbrook-Akine on the first drive, and people will lose their minds because Burks isn't starting. But as long as they have a plan for Treylon Burks in that game to provide some splash moments, the second play of training camp, Tannehill goes deep to Burks, and he makes an extended catch that everybody was tweeting out about. Like, okay, here's a guy who missed a lot of OTAs and minicamp but came up with a big play on the second play. He is here, and he's healthy. He made it through individual drills. We get to the first team period, and he makes a big play. First or second possession of 11-on-11 or 7-on-7 against the Bucs in the joint practice. What do? They dial up deep to Treylon Burks, and he comes up with a big play over a starting caliber corner. That's what I want to see in week one as much as I want to discuss what he brings this season. I can't tell you where he fits in on a numbers category because I think it's one way or the other. He's either truly just a number two package type guy, or he develops towards the end of the year into their go-to number one receiver. And I think he can be a number one receiver in the league. We saw that at Arkansas. He was the go-to player. But he has not shown enough for me to say, yeah, he's coming in and he's making an impact week one just like A.J. Brown did. And that's no knock to anybody in the development of this. That's just an honest assessment of what we've seen. Because I think we all see the true talent, but I haven't seen him just take over and claim a spot on how to develop the role, as you put it, Willie. And that means there is a ton of pressure, if we want to say that, pressure on Tannehill and Woods connecting on some big plays as a number one wide receiver option in what's going to be, I think, a tight end heavy passing attack.
Well, a lot of moves still yet to come before week one. I appreciate the time as always, Hut, and we'll be listening today starting at 2 on 94.9 The Fan.
Thank you, guys. Always enjoy this. I'll be listening.
All right, thank you, Jonathan Hutton. Outkick 360 every day, 2 to 5 on 94.9 The Fan. Coming up next, D-Mase is going to join the conversation. We'll get his thoughts on the roster. Plus, I have a question for all of you when it comes to Treylon Burks. We'll do that coming up next, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Titans training camp is underway.
Talking Titans?
What wide receivers make the team?
Treylon Burks.
The physicality.
Robert Woods.
Route concepts and how to get open.
Who starts on the offensive line?
It's a full-on right tackle battle.
What other storylines will stand out?
Malik Willis, some of the best he's looked in camp.
Titans training camp coverage is fueled by Parman Energy. Now hiring fuel drivers. Apply now at ParmanEnergy.com and by USA Hemp Store on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Winning this award is truly like winning the Super Bowl of car dealer awards for Mercedes-Benz.
Edwin Vickery, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Music City.
Culture eats strategy for lunch. You have to hit on all cylinders to win this award. You can strategize all you want. You got to still have the right tools, and our tools are our people.
Live the dream with 3-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best award winner, Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Go to mbofmc.com.
Tune in to ESPN 102.5 The Game every Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 for ESPN's Trevor Maddich joining me, Jared Stillman, on Stillman & Company as we dive deep into the college football world and all the latest from the SEC. It's all brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters.
The Nashville Sheriff is hiring correctional officers. Earn $52,500 after paid training and probation. Positions are available immediately. You must be 21 and over with a high school diploma or GED. Come join our family. That's $52,500 with great benefits. Apply now at sheriff.nashville.gov/apply or call 615-862-8170. Earn $52,500. Stop searching. Apply now. The Nashville Sheriff.
National Playmakers Academy with former Vols Buck Fitzgerald and James Stone, along with former Austin Peay Governor Vic Wright, offer one of the best football developmental organizations in the nation. MPA has over 30 NFL alumni, 800-plus college football scholarship signees, and 25 high school football All-Americans. If you have a student athlete in middle school or high school that is looking for the best football training and college football recruiting help around, contact National Playmakers Academy today, 615-456-2680, or email april.mpafootball@gmail.com.
Hey, it's Jared. Join us for Stillman & Company, where we continue to react to the Titans as they have set their 53-man roster and what players could they be looking at adding in the claiming process. And, of course, your calls. Stillman & Company, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
Hey, this is Roman Yossi. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming on the Game Nashville app. Chase McCabe, Willy Donick, and now Derek Mason on the phone with us as we are reacting to the Titans and what has happened there. And D-Mase, I know you've been moving this morning, so I don't know what you know.
Okay, so hold on. Before we get to the Titans here, D-Mase, it's a process, all right? I know my crew will be heading your way here tomorrow. So what's the setting? First of all, how's the weather in Boston right now?
The weather's great, actually. It rained a little bit this morning, but it's sunny. The clouds are out, but it's a nice breeze. So if you're gonna do some moving into dorms or apartments here, I think today and probably tomorrow is the best days.
Okay, not bad. Good to hear. So it's very Boston-y. That sounds good. Now, how is year 2 compared to year 1? You've been through this with your daughter, so. DJ's the second guy through, so you know this process. But how is year 2 emotionally and, executing the plan?
Well, this is year 3 for him now. So
this is year 3 for him. You're way ahead of the game. You got this down.
So, yeah, I'm a pro at this. But still, it doesn't get easier, man. You know how it is, Willie. When you go to drop your kids off, it's bittersweet in a sense. So, you're happy that they're back in school, but you're also sad that they're leaving the house. So I had him the whole summer. So, it was good to have him around and everything. But now he has to, come back to school and get his education,
Were you able to get him in for a haircut before?
He didn't get a haircut before, but he has a haircut appointment pretty soon.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Week or two.
So he's got his person up there.
Important.
That's good.
Hey, you know how he is, Chase.
That's important. D-Mace has been getting haircuts for him, a long time. So,
exactly. So the process it's been wonderful, man. It's been wonderful.
The Titans have made it official and announced their practice squad, which includes Dez Fitzpatrick, Mason Kinsey, and Reggie Roberson. Those 3 are on the practice squad. Those on the active roster, Traylon Burks, of course, Robert Woods, Kyle Phillips, and Racy McMath right now looks like he's going to go to injured reserve. So they have 4 on the active roster. They're going to have to make some moves there. But my question for you guys on Traylon Burks, how much do you think we're going to hear if he struggles out of the gate? Which right now I don't know if he's going to struggle. I just don't know if he's going to make a huge impact right out of the gate. How much are we going to hear, well, A.J. Brown really didn't do that much in his first month in the league, and then look what happened to him. Could that be detrimental to Traylon Burks to continue to have that comparison to A.J. Brown?
Well, whether it's detrimental or not, I think he's always going to be – those two will always be linked up because of how it all happened. You trade away one guy, and then minutes later you draft another at that same position. So no matter what, whether he starts off strong or starts off slow, those two will always be linked together. I don't think it's going to be to his detriment. I think if he does start off slow, I think the excuse, it will be, some people will think, hey, well, AJ started off slow, so it's just customary for a receiver to start off slow. I don't think that's the case. I think the young man, the last game for him was sort of a momentum boost. He had a touchdown. He had a few catches. I think he started to get into the rhythm of the game. So I think having that opportunity the last preseason game. Now, if he didn't play that last preseason game or didn't make a catch, I would be a little bit worried. But it seems like he's in the groove of things. And now whether he starts or not, that's a different story. But I think he'll be just fine.
Do you think that there's more pressure on Robert Woods, or has it the same amount of pressure been there throughout camp, knowing that he's going to have to basically be the number one?
Well, the pressure is on Robert Woods. When they brought him in, the pressure was on him. He's making the most money in that receiver's room, so the pressure is going to be him. Pressure is going to be on him not only to be productive on the football field, but also to be a leader in that room. The leadership part, I'm not worried about with Robert Woods, but the production on the field, that's wait and see type of deal, because still he's coming off that injury, and you just don't know how long it's going to take him to get back into that rhythm that he once was in before the injury.
Take that a little bit further, Derek, because I think we've all been worried about that part of it, but we've watched Robert Woods pretty much seamlessly go through the preseason step by step, ratcheting things up, and I think we're feeling pretty good about where he is. Should we be a little cautious about that because it's different going from this to a real game?
Yeah, I think everyone should be cautious because, again, and we've talked about this, guys, there's one thing, because the thing was, well, he looks great in practice. He's cutting without any, limitations and this and that. And yes, that's absolutely right. But, once he get into a game situation, those big guys leaning on him, defensive backs pushing him, defensive backs landing on him, safeties, linebackers, that takes a toll on you. That's when you will really know if you're fully back or not. I'm pretty sure a few years ago, Taylor, in practice he looked good and he was moving pretty good. But then once you get in a game type situation when it really means something, that's when you start to really get it. It's sort of a litmus test of where you are after the surgery. So I think people need to be a little bit cautious with Robert Woods because I think, yes, he came back that fast. Yes, he looked good in practice. And, yes, he did have a catch in the last preseason game, and he looked pretty good. But there's a difference between looking good in preseason and in practice than in the game when it really means something. And those guys are really trying to go after you.
I got one more on just how you would work a rookie in. Let's say, let's put Phillips in a different category. He looks pretty advanced right now. It's just what we've seen in practice that he's going to be on the field a little bit more. But let's take Okonkwo and Burks. If you're the offensive coordinator, Derek, and you're saying, okay, these guys are only ready for a certain amount, but I want to be able to use them in some situations, and I want to put them in a position that they could make a couple of big plays. How easy is that to do at this point? And is that doable for the Giants game?
It's not an easy task. But it's a task that has to be done. I think they got to find a way. Is Traylon Burks ready or Chig ready to, be starters and really, go out there and take on the whole playbook? Probably not. So what they have to do is in practice, they have to find they have to have specific packages for these guys to throw them in and not put too much on them. I've seen it with Kevin Dyson where they sort of spoon-fed him until he got really comfortable with what's going on. I saw it in Baltimore with Mark Clayton where they spoon-fed him a little bit at a time until he got comfortable with doing his job. So I don't see that being any different because Mike Vrabel is a coaching coach. He loves to teach. And he's not going to throw those guys out there without having all the necessary tools that they need. And in this situation, the tool is the mental tool, knowing the playbook in and out. If there's any hesitation whatsoever, you don't put those young men in a position where they can't succeed. Coaches always say, we want to put you in a position where you can succeed. Well, for Chig and Burks, putting them in a situation to succeed means that, hey, listen, we're not going to throw the playbook at you. We're going to spoon feed you until you feel comfortable. Now, Kyle Phillips, it seems like he's picking up the offense pretty seamless, and that could be because of the university that he came from. They probably did things a little bit different than what Trey and Burks Concord did in their university as far as how they call plays. So, but I expect Downing and Vrabel to take things slow, and if they feel that these guys are ready after game 1 or 2 or 3, then I see, Chig in there more, and I see Burks ultimately being a starter alongside Robert Woods.
Well, D-Mase, we look forward to having you back here on Friday. Somebody that you know quite well is going to join us at 1 o'clock, and Eddie George, so that'll be a fun conversation. But enjoy a little bit more time with your son and the move, and we'll see you soon.
All right, fellas. Y'all enjoy the rest of the show.
Absolutely. Derek Mason joining us from Beantown as DJ gets moved in to his new digs and gets going back to college, but wanted to get his thoughts on the Titans roster and just all the moves that have been made. Coming up next, we'll hit a few other things because there's been some hockey news, there's been some baseball things.
Time for a little change of pace.
A little change of pace. Dontrell Hilliard coming in to change the pace a bit as you listen to Chase Willy D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The Sports Talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic every Saturday morning at 9.
I've got my extra large coffee.
As she talks about the big stories of the week.
Predators news, the Tennessee Titans.
And looks ahead to the weekend.
Oh, I'm so excited.
On Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus. A nice end to the upcoming work week. Today, plenty of sunshine, lower on the humidity as well. No rain chances until the weekend. High temperatures take us into the upper 80s to right near 90 for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Chevrolet Buick GMC. We all know that you're not supposed to wear white after Labor Day. So with that in mind, we're discounting all of our white vehicles. Well, maybe we should just discount the lighter colors that are close to white too, and maybe the red and blue ones since we celebrate this in America. Okay, fine. I'll discount all the cars, starting right now. On top of that, we want to celebrate all of your hard work with the most American lunch we can think of. Hot dogs. Hot dogs all day on Labor Day. So come kick your feet up, get a new car of any color, and enjoy a hot dog. You can even shop online for a new car with Newton FastPass. But you'll have to make your own hot dogs that way. Sorry. Visit NewtonChevroletBuickGMC.com to learn more.
Tired of living with chronic joint pain from arthritis or injury? Stop with the steroids and pain meds and don't have surgery until you check out regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics.
These therapies can help the body have long-term relief of your pain.
Meet Dr. Justin Garzone, Medical Director at QC Kinetics.
We use your body's own healing properties, highly concentrate them, and then use that to restore and repair the damaged tissues in your joints.
This is a cutting-edge natural solution from local medical professionals.
We have a team of medical assistants, physician assistants, nurse practitioners, and physicians that are trained specifically just to do regenerative medicine.
And Dr. Garzone speaks from personal experience. Before joining the QC Kinetics team, he was an actual patient.
I am now pain-free.
You too can get lasting relief from joint pain. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024.
Why choose proven quality sleep from Sleep Number? Because our Sleep Number 360 smart bed is really smart. It senses your movement and automatically adjusts to help keep you both comfortable. Plus, it's temperature balancing so you stay cool. It's even smart enough to know exactly how long, how well, and when you slept. Our smart sleepers get 28 minutes more restful sleep per night. Sleep Number takes care of the science. All you have to do is sleep. Don't miss our Labor Day weekend special where all smart beds are on sale. Save 50% on the Sleep Number 360 limited edition smart bed plus free delivery when you add a base. Ends Labor Day. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
Robbie Stanley.
To avoid non-contact injuries and not repeat last year,
Joe Rexrode.
Just wait until next year's national TV schedule comes out.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Middlestat, he'll send it down low. Middlestat again. Back to Darlene. Darlene to Middlestat. Middlestat doesn't shoot. Got to the other side. Thompson. He scores! Whoa! Tage Thompson.
Little call there. Tage Thompson.
The great Rick Jeanneret.
Yes.
And I still have nightmares because on the Rick Jeanneret celebration night, they filled the house and they beat the Predators. And it's like, man, Buffalo didn't win very many games. They had a lot of nights
Thompson
where
had
there was
a
nobody
hat trick
there,
that
and
night,
Tage
didn't he?
Thompson went off in that game too.
So he gets a new contract as we hit a little hockey news and some other things going on in the sports world. But, it was funny. Like, Nick and I were talking about this before the show that I did not realize he had 38 goals last year.
Yeah, so this is our little change of pace hockey segment here. There's a couple of things we want to hit on. And, yeah, if you're a Western Conference follower like just about everybody who lives here is, and you're not paying any attention to the Sabres, and why would you unless you're from Buffalo and, moved to town and still love the Sabres, of course, they've been struggling for a long time. And that's an interesting team to watch. They have loaded up their farm system. They made the Jack Eichel trade, and in the meantime, they're trying to find guys. And Tage Thompson, once upon a time, was on the Blues and an okay prospect. And now he just
wasn't
signed
he kind
a
of a
7-year.
throw-in?
I don't know if I would say throw-in, but I think I think if the Blues loved him, they probably wouldn't have traded him. But he has taken the most of the opportunity in Buffalo and earned himself a 7-year guaranteed contract.
Sabres also announced they're bringing back the red and black as a third jersey.
I got to ask our Buffalo correspondents here, and there's a few that work for the Predators, notably, of course, Pete Weber, Jerry Helper, but there's a couple others too. I want to poll those guys and say,
I don't know about that.
I really like their blue and gold, traditional ones. I'm not as big a fan of the big old Buffalo head with the red and black, but they did get to the Cup final with Dominic Hasek and those guys.
Yeah. So that was the dominator.
I'm not a big fan of changing the colors, though. It's like the Canucks. Like, they're all pretty cool uniforms, but like choose your color set. And once you go down that road of changing the team colors when you change the uniform, you get lost.
It'd be like if the Predators rolled out a two-tone blue, or the Titans rolled out a third that's the gold,
or completely different, like a red red and black or something, like different, totally different scheme.
Titans still need a red jersey. I think that'd be cool.
Let's not even open that can of worms. No, I remember when they started selling those red jerseys, and everybody was saying, "When are they going to wear these in the game?"
So the rumor was they were going to wear them Christmas Day. That was going to be it. And the league
way
or
back.
Somebody put the kibosh on it last minute, and they didn't do it. But they were actually made.
Tons of people bought those.
And then they made with the current uniform, they have a red version that they've done, but they've never worn them on the field. See, now with this new helmet stuff, you could do like a red with the blue pants and maybe a white helmet on Christmas. I think that look kind of cool.
I'm not into the red, but we will have our fashion police discussion for another day.
That's fine.
All right, so that's the Sabres part of this. But let's get to a couple of stories that I think have a direct tie-in to the Predators. Because, hey, whatever happens with the Sabres, that is only for those that wanted to blow it up. The Sabres have blown it up, re-blown it up. They're still trying to get it going It's been a long time. So the blow it up and rebuild doesn't always take just a couple of years. Sometimes it takes a long time. Sabres might actually have some traction here. They might actually be not that far away from moving in the right direction here, but that remains to be seen. But let's look at a couple other stories, Chase.
Yeah, you also have, well, and along those lines for a second, I think like the Devils and the Sabres intrigue me a little bit.
Been working on stockpiling a lot of young guys, and when is it going to come together? And let's lead that into a team that went through that and now is at the top, the Avalanche.
Mm-hmm.
The Avalanche, as we know, went through some dark times. And it took a while to build the roster they have, but here they are. They're the juggernaut. They're the defending champions. So what's on the horizon for them? I was listening to a summer podcast. They don't do it all the time, but they do flip in occasionally, checking in with our man Elliot Friedman on the 32 Thoughts with Jeff Merrick. They were discussing Nathan MacKinnon. He is sort of their Philip Forsberg from last year. He's a year away from unrestricted free agency. He is
so
right
he can
now.
Sign now.
They could sign him to an extension now. They're in a window now. He is one of the best players in hockey. He is 26, and they have had him in a bridge deal for a relative bargain, $6.3 million. Not nothing, but that number is about to go up big time. Not this year. Their roster is locked in this year. He's at 6.3. They're going to be the odds-on favorite again to come out of the West. To me, they've got a couple of question marks. Maybe they're not quite as deep and as loaded, but relatively speaking, they got a lot of ways to beat you still, even with the loss of Kadri. What does MacKinnon end up getting? This is what Friedman and Merrick were talking about. Could he be the highest paid player in the game? Could he get what Connor McDavid, what Leon Draisaitl, what Austin Matthews, what those guys? I think it's going to be in that number. It's going to be 11, 12, even if it's not the top, it's going to be in that range. And what does that do? It's always a big challenge when you have a player that makes that much money against the cap.
Yeah, I mean, but I think he's earned it, and you can work a few things, work a few deals. I mean, this window for them, I think, is you got a few years that it's open. You know, they just won the Cup. I mean, I think they're still the team to beat in the league. You know, the Predators, when we were talking about their offseason, and, you know, I think if you look across the board, the Predators are probably the most improved playoff team that you saw this season. I mean, the moves that they made on paper look pretty darn good, but how do they match up against Colorado? That is still going to be the measuring stick of, and that goes for anybody. That goes for anybody in the West and really anybody in the league of how they stack up against the defending Stanley Cup champions. But if I'm Colorado, even though I know that the cap it's going to start to go back up here in the next few years, so that's going to help. But I'm gonna sacrifice not being able to sign some other players to keep MacKinnon to the max deal he can get.
And that's the skill, I think, is when you're trying to hold together a team that has some elite players. When those guys start getting raises, like let's take the Blackhawks, when Patrick Kane and Jonathan Taves signed $10 million per year contracts each. Those contracts are still going. They're going into, I think, the last year of those. That changed the structure as opposed to when they were on their entry-level deals and winning the Stanley Cup in 2010 when they broke the Predators' hearts in the first round. So the skill of a Joe Sakic to maintain an elite team over the long haul, being able to keep your top players and still keep the roster from becoming too top-heavy, is the art form. And so if the Predators are going to contend anytime soon, how Colorado does this is going to be a big part of the equation. You know, it's one thing, the Predators have to just become the best team that they can be, for sure. But it does help if maybe the Avalanche aren't quite the juggernaut that they have been over the next couple of years. So that's something to watch. How much does Nathan MacKinnon get, and what do they have to do down the road? Nothing will happen this year. He's locked in. It's like the Roman Josi, right? Roman Josi, they signed him at the beginning of the season for the following year. It kicked in. They had to make plans accordingly. But McKinnon is about to make way more than Roman Josi, way more than Philip Forsberg made against the cap. And so that's going to be a very interesting budgetary move that they have to do. He's a franchise player.
They have to do it.
You can't not sign him for that reason, but it is going to affect your roster.
Real quick, about a minute. Mike Sullivan, head coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins, gets a 3-year contract extension to remain their head coach. It's been a while since they've won a playoff series.
Mike Sullivan took over in 2015-2016, and they won the Cup his very, very first year. His second year, they beat the Predators in the Stanley Cup.
Mm-hmm.
The third year, going for the three-peat, they won the first round, and then they lost to Barry Trotz and the Capitals. This is 2018. And since then, they have not won a playoff series. He has been there for 4 more years. The last 4 years, they have lost in the first round. I admire the Pittsburgh Penguins for sticking with him. A lot of times when a guy's been there that long, a lot of organizations, I would venture to say the majority in any sport, would just say it's time to move on. But it just tells me that Sidney Crosby and Chris Letang and Evgeny Malkin, the core guys on that team, must really love what Mike Sullivan has to offer. But can you imagine the pressure if you have been a coach in a top-level market with elite players and you haven't won a playoff series in 4 years? More often than not, those guys get canned. They don't get a 3-year extension. But it just shows you that Sullivan seems to be different than a lot of coaches, and maybe the Penguins are a little bit different. They're doubling down on him. They just signed – remember, they signed some guys who are a little bit older.
Yeah, I mean, they brought everybody back.
They brought the whole gang back, even though they're getting up there in age. We'll see if that ends up being a good move.
Coming up next, we'll shift gears. We'll get back into some football, but college football. We'll talk to Wes Rucker of 24/7 Sports. Of course, he covers the Vols for them, a new-look Neyland Stadium. Plus, things kick off tomorrow night for Tennessee. We'll do that next. Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
You watch the game.
Tannehill, he can run, and he does. Touchdown.
We talk the game.
I think this is Vrabel giving Tannehill more authority over the team.
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hi guys, it's Andrew. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of the pills? Well, today, Wednesday, August 31st, we're running a one-day special you won't want to miss out on. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most powerful form of wave therapy. This is a technology clinically shown to repair blood vessels and improve blood flow. Even Cambridge has studied our technology. If you're ready to transform your love life, grab your phone. Today is your day. Call us now and you'll qualify for the assessment and ultrasound totally free. You'll also get a gift that can produce powerful results in the bedroom in minutes. You're going to love that, guys. And today only, we're offering 6 tune-up treatments to our patients free. This is our most lucrative offer ever, worth over $1,200. But call today, Wednesday, and qualify totally free. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your love life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now to qualify. This offer ends today. 615-576-5000.
Hey, Willie Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it that you can access with Loan Pronto. Loan Pronto specializes in zero-cost cash-out home refis. You can get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. Pay off those 23% rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut $800 or more from their monthly budget. If your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto now and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. Do it now. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Hey, it's Jared from my friends at Hiller. It's back to school season, and Hiller is giving you free backyard upgrades all month long. Tackle those necessary home replacements in August to take advantage of these special deals, like a free Yeti Tundra cooler with the purchase of a new tankless water heater, a free Traeger wood pellet grill with the purchase of a new whole home generator, and also Hiller's going to keep you cool for back to school with special limited time financing promotions on these HVAC replacements. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Happy you'll be, or the service is free.
Hey everybody, Big Joe here for Apple Collision Centers. And you know I'm always on the go, but the distraction that an automobile accident causes could even slow my pace down to a stop. But my friend and CEO of Apple Collision Centers, Stan Harrison, has a plan to get you and I back on the road and fast.
We at Apple Collision Centers know you deserve the best quality service. We always recommend original equipment parts, and we use only the best Sherwin-Williams finishes. 3 convenient locations, Hendersonville, Gallatin, and Old Hickory. And you can always visit us online for your estimate needs at applecollisioncenters.com.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game set.
Checker flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Now let's see if we can bring them to life, all right?
Bringing you entertainment and informative sports talk during your workday.
Smart, funny, classy, and I like him a lot.
This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase with Chase McCabe, Willy Donick,
Mason, touchdown, Tennessee.
and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
This is a new level of geek you got going on here.
1 o'clock hour, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, streaming on the Game Nashville app. Chase, Willy, and D-Mase. Chase McKay, Willy Donick with you today. D-Mase will be back with us on Friday. You can tune in to the college football game of the week on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. This Sunday is Florida State takes on LSU at 6:30. The game of the week is brought to you by Twin Peaks, home of the 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports. Let's say hello to Wes Rucker of 24/7 Sports. He covers the Vols for them. Neyland Stadium getting a facelift as stage one of that nearly complete. I know, Wes, you got to check it out yesterday. How does the home of the Vols look?
You know, it still looks like the home of the Vols, guys. It looks, I think, it's different, but it's, I don't think they're trying to do sort of, like what, was done years ago with Soldier Field, where they kind of take a historic old stadium and then put like a spaceship on top of it, so it looks really weird. They haven't done anything like that. They've sort of incorporated that stuff into what is the sort of the old skull and bones there. But they've also given it a couple of nice new bells and whistles. So I think it looks pretty good. To be honest, they got probably another coat of paint they need to put on it. I think they're doing that today, probably get everything nice and ready for the opener. And like any other, my dad's a contractor, so I can tell you that the things like a day before they open don't always look anything like they do the day they open. But still, it looked pretty good, and I think they're going to enhance that even more in the off season, and their plans for the next 4 or 5 years look really cool, and what they've done so far looks nice. It'll be a nice addition up top there with the 360-degree bar, the huge screens.
Yeah.
People who can afford that place, that looks nice. And then the field club level, for people who can really afford that looks really nice too.
Well, and I don't know why I care about this so much, but I love that the VOLS, the letters are still up there. I just feel like that's an iconic piece of the stadium.
Yeah, and they put 2 of them up, which was nice. They got them on each side of the that south side end zone. So yeah, it looks nice, and I think if I've heard correctly, I think because last year they added those brand new lights and everything, and they made the pregame run through the tee even cooler for night games because they put like a big spotlight just on the tee. Well, now I think they've got some spotlights for those VOLS letters when they come out there for pregame. So if you're one of those people who arrives late for a night game, I would recommend not doing that. You're probably going to want to be in the stands for some of that stuff because it looks very, very cool.
Wes, I have this team as a 9-win football team. I'm putting a lot of faith in Josh Heupel in year number 2, but with Hendon Hooker back, he's got some weapons on offense. Brew McCoy being eligible just adds to that. But Do you think that's a lofty expectation for the Vols to go 9 wins, knowing that they're going to have to win some swing games along the way, or do you think that's right at it?
No, I mean, I think that's close. I've got them just a tick below that. I've got them at 8 wins in the regular season, but, certainly 9 would not surprise me. I mean, that's not that far off, right? They've got a lot of those swing games. And interestingly, right there in the first few games of the season, they got a couple, the trip to face 17th ranked Pitt next week, and then the game against Florida at home. A lot of the season will be dictated by sort of how those games go. And so what's interesting to me is I picked Tennessee going 8-4 in the regular season, but had Tennessee at like 1-4 or something in the SEC until the final 3 games of the season. So that would be, people were looking at those predictions being like, come on, Wes, like that's going to be a downer. And I was like, yeah, but I just, that's how I see the games going, right? I think this is a good football team. It's just a tough schedule. I mean, you go down to LSU, another huge swing game. We don't know what the hell that team's going to look like because, honestly, that Tennessee LSU prediction, our minds could completely change on that in the next 3 weeks or so, 3 or 4 weeks. So there's a lot of swing games on that schedule. I don't think anyone picking them to go to 9 games is crazy. My coworker Patrick Brown, who I got a lot of respect for, had them going 9-3. Other people do as well. It's certainly possible.
Wes Rucker is with us, 24/7 Sports. Who are some players that may not be those household names yet, like a Cedric Tillman or Hendon Hooker, that fans need to pay attention to when they kick the ball off tomorrow?
Well, I think everyone knows Byron Young also, but I'll keep an eye on him because he's just a freak off the edge. I mean, he could have a huge year for Tennessee. I think, maybe Jalen Hyde at wide receiver. He's a kid who had a couple touchdowns against Alabama as a freshman. He's ridiculously fast, and he had a really tough year as a sophomore. It did not go the way he wanted it to go. He was frustrated with Tennessee. Tennessee was frustrated with him. Other guys learned the offense quicker than he did, and he didn't have a big year. Had some early season drops and then just kind of faded in and out of the rotation. He's at the slot now, and I think he looks really, really good. He should have a big season for Tennessee. And there's a couple other interesting names. Walker Merrill, a Nashville area kid, I think could surprise some people this season. He's right there bracketed with Brew McCoy, a wide receiver on the depth chart. He's one. And then, I mean, I'm sticking on the thing with wide receivers. Squirrel White's going to do something this year. I don't know what it's going to be, but this kid is an absolute rocket ship when he runs. He's only about 165 pounds, so he's skinny out there. But goodness gracious, this kid gets up to like 24 miles an hour. He can freaking fly. And I think sometime, whether it's a gadget play, getting him in the open field, he could do something interesting. And I'm also interested to see D. Williams on punt return. I think he's a guy who in JUCO did a lot of cool things there, and I think he's another kid to watch out for when Tennessee receives a punt.
Wes, you've been around this team for a long time, and I feel like for so many years we were talking about the offensive line and are they going to be good enough? Can they hold it together? Now I feel like we're talking about a veteran offensive line. How refreshing is it to know that Josh Heupel has that they have that protection up front?
Yeah, I mean, it's what you want, right? I mean, I think in an ideal world, if you could say you got 4 of your 5 starters back, and you could pick which one that you wouldn't want it to be the 5th, you'd probably say left tackle, but that's where there's a new guy. So that part is a little bit nerve-wracking because Darnell Wright is a better player at right tackle than left tackle, wanted to play right tackle as a senior. Tennessee obliged, thought he'd be a better player there, moved him over. But by doing that, opened up a gap there at left tackle where, you've got Jeremiah Crawford and Gerald Mincy kind of competing for that job. They'll both play in the opener. But generally speaking, the other 4 guys up there, I think that's a solid-looking unit. I mean, Carvin, Cooper Mays, if he can stay healthy, is a really good player. Javonte Spraggins is kind of a big old 330-pound mover of men up there at guard also. I like what they've got there. I think they know how to play in this offense. They know the pace of this offense. They know how quickly they need to move. And I think they know their assignments. So, yeah, I mean, I think Hendon Hooker is happy to have those guys. I think Josh Heupel is happy to have those guys, and I think Tennessee fans should be too. I don't know if we're going to be sitting here at the end of the year saying oh my gosh, it's the best group in the country, but it's a good offensive line.
Talking to Wes Rucker from 24/7 Sports, and Wes, what's the best answer you have for how you measure improvements on defense? Just knowing that all the things you just talked about with the offense, they're gonna rev it up, they're gonna move fast, they're probably gonna score a lot of points, but it puts the defense in a tough spot. It's always been the balance of playing offense like that? What are the consequences defensively? So what are you looking for defensively from them?
I think, what's interesting about Tennessee's defense this season is I don't know how many dudes they have, right? Like, football coaches kind of say, a regular player is just a guy, but then a great player is a dude, right? Like, oh, he's just a guy, but he's a dude. I don't know how many dudes they have on defense, but they got a bunch of guys. And they got a bunch of guys who I think can rotate in and out. They have a lot more depth than they had going into last season, certainly. I mean, they have a better situation there pretty much depth-wise across the board. So I think that if you're going to play at the pace Tennessee does, you don't want to be playing guys 80, 90 snaps on defense, obviously. You don't want to be doing that ever, but especially when you're going as fast as Tennessee goes offensively and you have as many series as you have in those games. So if you can't have just a whole bunch of just five-star dudes, it's really nice to have a bunch of guys who there might not be a huge drop-off from the ones to the twos, and I think that probably as much as anything will help that group this season, because you could tell early last season they were surprising a lot of people. They were making some plays, had a bunch of TFLs, a bunch of sacks. Now, late in the season, it wasn't the same. They were kind of decimated. Purdue just carved them up like there was nothing there. And I think now, with the depth they have this season, they should be able to offset that much more. They should be able to keep guys fresher, and that will help a lot. But at the end of the day, this defensive improvement is going to come down to how much better are they going to be at linebacker and safety, because all those guys are back from last season basically, and their grades last season were not very good. Those guys are capable of playing better. I think they can play better. I think they probably will play better, but how much better they play will go a long way toward determining the season. Of course, I'm talking about Banks, Beasley, Juwan Mitchell, Tank McCullough, Trayvon Flowers, Tamarian McDonald there at nickel. Those guys need to go out there and have a good season.
Wes, I can remember the days where the entire media would get a chance to watch more of practice. There might be a scrimmage or two you could watch and really get a gauge on how much progress was being made from the time they started the fall camp. It's tougher now. So, A, how do you and your crew at 24/7 try to evaluate what's going on behind the scenes? And how does Josh Heupel compare to maybe the last couple of Tennessee coaches, and how much you guys get a chance to see?
Yeah, I would say we probably see a little bit less with Heupel, and I don't think that's because he's just trying to be a jerk about it. I legitimately think that the way he structures practice, it's the same way he did it when he was at UCF. They get into team periods very early in practice, like not long after stretching. So normally what happens is you see individual periods, and then you get kicked out when 11-on-11 stuff happens, because they don't want us to see actual 11-on-11 football. They just, I mean, look at Sam Pittman from the SEC teleconference today, talking about a kid playing a wide quarterback playing a wide receiver. They don't want us to see that stuff. So basically, early in camp, we see a fair amount, and then as the season approaches, we see virtually nothing, because that's just the way it goes. So what we have to do, and what we're able to do, thankfully, is have people in the program we trust, people who have access to practice, people who are playing in the program, coaching in the program, because you hear a lot of stuff, and the trick is just kind of figuring out who you trust and who you don't, because you're relying on a lot of people, and you're not able to see it with your own eyes, so it's always a little bit terrifying when you write something that you have not physically seen yourself. But you find out who you trust, who you don't trust, and usually you go with what they're telling you, and then you piece that together, cobble it together, and you come up with a report. So that's sort of our process vaguely that we go through. I certainly do miss the old days when you could see more stuff at practice, but honestly, if it's going to come down to who knows more people in there, who can get more access when there's no access, I'd take our guys up against anybody in terms of getting that info.
All right, Wes, appreciate the time. As always, we'll do it again soon, and can't wait to watch some football tomorrow. Glad it's finally here. It
is here, whether we're ready or not, guys. It is here. So, yeah, thanks for having me, and we'll see how it goes.
No doubt. Wes Rucker, 24/7 Sports, covers the Vols for them. Appreciate him hopping on. The Vols, a 35-point favorite tomorrow against Ball State. A lot of points in the opener, but we'll talk more about that. There's been a trade in the NFL that I find very intriguing. We'll discuss that coming up next. Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 2:45.
Sanders for the touchdown, 48 yards.
Former NFL wide receiver Chris Sanders joins Stillman and Company to give his thoughts on all things Titans and NFL. Fueled by Parman Energy, now hiring fuel drivers. Apply now at ParmanEnergy.com on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Ford South. We all know that you're not supposed to wear white after Labor Day. So with that in mind, we're discounting all of our white vehicles. Well, maybe we should just discount the lighter colors that are close to white too, and maybe the red and blue ones since we celebrate this in America. Okay, fine. I'll discount all the cars, starting right now. On top of that, we want to celebrate all of your hard work with the most American lunch we can think of. Hot dogs. Hot dogs all day on Labor Day. So come kick your feet up, get a new car of any color, and enjoy a hot dog. You can even shop online for a new car with Newton FastPass. But you'll have to make your own hot dogs that way. Sorry. Visit NewtonFordSouth.com to learn more.
Hey, summer's over, but is that joint pain still there? Well, it's time to do something. Willy Donick here, and I want to tell you about QC Kinetics. You've put it off long enough. It's time to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees, your back, your shoulder, and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments. No drugs, no downtime, no surgery. Regenerative medicine uses highly concentrated healing properties from your own body, and it restores and repairs the damaged joint tissue. Plus, QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in this exciting breakthrough natural approach to eliminating joint pain. Lots of people here have done this, and they're living life to the fullest pain-free. So don't assume that the old ways of dealing with joint pain are the only ways. Stop putting it off. Call for a free consultation. 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics. Once again, 615-249-4024.
Hey, folks, Joe Rexroad here to let you know that FanDuel wants you to be ready for game day when college football really gets going this week. We had week 0 last week. We got week 1 this week, full schedule. And right now, new customers can get $150 in free bets guaranteed for week 1. Just place a $5 bet and get $150 in free bets, win or lose. You can do a lot of different things with this, of course. Same game parlays, live bettings. You can go futures on national championships. I'm going to tell you right now, that's a big line. Tennessee and Ball State. I think I might still give those points with the Vols. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, now's the perfect time to give it a shot. App is easy to use. It's safe. It's secure. It's fast. Great odds. See for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Download the app today. Sign up with promo code Joe102. $5 bet. Get $150 in free bets guaranteed to kick off college football. That's promo code Joe102. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. For a sideline room money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issue is now available. Free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbet.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789.
Listen to Stillman and Company with me, Caroline Fenton, all season long on ESPN 102.5 The Game for your chance to win Nashville Sounds tickets courtesy of 312 Pizza Company in Germantown.
I love this show.
Never miss a moment of the show.
Okay, all right, okay.
Subscribe to the Chase, Willy, and D-Mase podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm ready to step this up a notch.
You're listening to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We'll get into more college football here in just a few minutes, but there's been a trade in the NFL that caught my attention. Doesn't affect the Titans per se, but it affects a former Titan. The Eagles are sending wide receiver Jalen Reagor to the Minnesota Vikings in exchange for a 2023 7th-round pick and a 2024 conditional 4th-round pick that would de-escalate to a 5th-round pick if certain statistical marks are not met. Sources tell ESPN. That's from Adam Schefter. Reagor, a former first-round pick for the Eagles. So they are moving on from him just a few years after drafting him. A.J. Brown appears to be receiver number 1 for the Philadelphia Eagles. Not that he wasn't in camp, but kind of an intriguing move, just moving on from Reagor, who hasn't really panned out.
I seem to be noticing the Eagles a lot of player movement. It's an intriguing team. I think they really feel like that division is there for the taking. The Giants, you look at whoever is making a prediction, the Giants usually are not in the mix. Washington, they will not get any benefit of the doubt. I think some people who are casual fans would not even remember that the Eagles made the playoffs last year. They were kind of that somebody had to make it team from the NFC. So they have something to build on. The Cowboys had a good year. So let me ask you, because I know you follow the Cowboys more than most. Do you think the Eagles are close? With the acquisition of A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts a year more under his belt. Devontae Smith now has Brown on the other side. He's got a year under his belt. Do they have a running game other than Jalen Hurts running the ball? They've been trying to work on that. What are your thoughts?
I think they're closer, but I think that's still the Cowboys division to lose. So that's
one thing I hear about the Cowboys a lot. This is just one of the things that they throw out there. The defense was so good last year. Remember, it overnight went from one of the worst to one of the best. They had a great draft. They had a lot of young infusion of talent. They got the right guy in there, Dan Quinn running it. They had a huge amount of turnovers last year. They created a ton. What a lot of analytics people say, just like they point to the Titans and they say, hard to win close games year in and year out. Titans are 13-4 in the one-score games. What they say about turnovers, as a rule, generally, a team that causes a ton of turnovers one year is not likely to repeat that the following year.
Right.
It's not easy to rely on that every year. You're going to cause a bunch of turnovers at that level.
I'm curious of how the offense looks for Dallas, too. I mean, Zeke Elliott, not the same. They lose Amari Cooper. Can CeeDee Lamb be the true number one? What is Dak Prescott, as he continues to develop? I mean, the thing I've heard about him is Dak is, that really good, but he's not elite. He's not at that level.
There's your national narrative, right? Can he get to another level, get him over the hump, playoff success?
And they got a tough one. They opened the season against the Bucs once again. That was the opener last year. It's going to be the opener again this year in Dallas. So,
do you think that's a good time to play the Bucs? I kind of sense that it might be.
They almost beat them last year. I mean,
they played a really good game. Yeah,
great game last year. So we'll see. But college football, week 1 gets underway tomorrow. There's a handful of games that are intriguing tomorrow night. You got
what should I be watching tomorrow night?
Well, obviously Tennessee will host Ball State, 35-point favorite.
And what channel is that
on? That is going to be on the SEC Network.
Okay.
So you don't have to go looking for the Ocho.
See, remember, I don't have the smart TV, right? This is the thing. Chase, maybe you need to come over to my house.
I've never been to your house.
Can you schedule some time? Can we get you over there? You got me on Twitter.
I'll come
back in the day.
Give you a technology update.
And we're coming up on the 11-year anniversary of me being on Twitter.
That's true.
You helped me right here in this studio. You guys got all over me for the Fire Stick and not having the right stuff with the.
My claim to fame is I got you and Chris Mason on Twitter.
Nice. Okay.
So your broadcast partner for the Predators, I got you both
and I have
on
piggybacked
Twitter.
off some great tweets by Mace many a time. He's a legend.
He's run with it.
Yes, he has. So can you help me? Get the stick.
I will help you.
Okay.
All
right. So let's set that aside. But I get SEC Network on my non-smart TV, so I'm good there. So what other games do I need to watch on Thursday?
I'm intrigued by on ESPN at 6:00. West Virginia headed to Pittsburgh. Pitt, a 7.5-point favorite, and that's intriguing because that's the Vols' next opponent.
Scouting.
Pitt is ranked 17th in coming into the season.
Even in the post Kenny Pickett.
Yep.
Losing a first-round draft pick at quarterback, still number 17.
Yep. So I think they're overranked, but a 7.5-point favorite at home against West Virginia. So that's that could be a silly underdog pick candidate for week 1.
We're going to do that tomorrow at noon. So be looking forward to that, and make sure you join us online and play silly underdogs with us. Very important. Get in and make your picks the first week.
Yep.
You give yourself the best chance to win. There's always a couple of teams that are ranked preseason top 25 that flop.
Yep.
Big time. And so Pittsburgh's an interesting one there.
What I think could be the game of the night, it's a 7:00 start on Fox out of the Big Ten. Penn State, James Franklin on the road taking on Jeff Brom and Purdue. Penn State a 3.5-point favorite. I'm intrigued by that one.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, neither of those teams ranked?
Nope.
A lot of talk about Penn State not really having a lot of expectations.
Yep.
Lower than some. And how will they react? Some people think it's very refreshing for a James Franklin to not have quite as much expectation level, if there is such a thing up there, right? At State College, you're supposed to win. But how do they play not having the expectation of they're one of the big boys this year? I'd almost rather be that than the team that's ranked in the top 25 that's not usually there, like Pittsburgh.
Right. So we'll see with Jimmy Frank and company and how that goes. Friday night, not really a lot of intrigue.
Do we have any of the late night action or the Pac-12 thing? You know, sometimes you and the guys, you like those late night games.
Yeah, the Herminator plays tomorrow night. Arizona State takes on Northern Arizona. You got Portland State, San Jose State. I know.
If you're really desperate, and you've lost the first 3 games on your slate.
Fresno State, Cal Poly, probably won't touch that one. Not even a line for those games.
Okay.
I will say this. Friday night, Eastern Kentucky heads to Eastern Michigan. Thoughts and prayers with Walt Wells, Eastern Kentucky head coach, who's had a medical episode. Big Joe Dubin's best friend, but he's been powering through. So things are
some optimism there.
Yeah, things are trending in the right direction. So, but yeah, again, not really intrigue much Friday night, and then everything gets going Saturday with a full slate of college football, which I cannot wait for, and what we have on our stations because of all of our partnerships, which we're excited about. MTSU takes on James Madison. That'll be at 3:30 on 102.5 The Game. TSU, we announced that 94.9 The Fan will be your home for TSU. They will take on Eastern Washington out in Eastern Washington starting at 2:30 on 94.9 The Fan, and Vanderbilt hosts Elon 4:30 on 93.3 Classic Hits. And then Sunday night right here on 102.5 The Game, Florida State, LSU. Lots of intrigue with Brian Kelly and LSU.
Oh, yes. That's a big one.
His family.
All right. So let me throw that game into the mix, and then let me give you 2 more, and I'll ask it like I asked Mitch Light yesterday. Which game do you anticipate to be the best game, like competitive game all the way through, between that one, Ohio State against Notre Dame, and Georgia, Oregon?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think Florida State, LSU, because I think Georgia's going to win pretty good. I think Ohio State's going to win pretty good. LSU should win. They're only a 3-point favorite, though.
So on paper, that should be a close. That should be a,
and that game's at the Superdome.
Because the other two, like Georgia's a big favorite, Ohio State a big favorite.
Yeah.
I want drama. I'm hoping for drama in those games.
The kickoff game, like Monday night is Clemson, Georgia Tech. I just don't know how much drama you're really going to get.
Yeah.
That game's
the other
in
one that
Atlanta.
might be the most intriguing of the entire weekend is Utah at Florida.
Utah-Florida is an interesting one. I like the Utes.
The Utes are favorite.
Yeah, but I like
the Utes are supposed to be. You mean you like them for the season, or
I like them overall
because they're supposed to win this game. Like the league their league really needs them to win that game at Florida. Like if you can't beat Florida and you're a top 10 team, how can you be a playoff team? That's sort of how but the first week is the first week, right? You're not what you're going to be in November.
Yeah. And then other than that, I mean, Utah, Florida, you mentioned is intriguing, but that's really it. Week 1, not a ton of doozies. Cincinnati, Arkansas. I'm curious about
that's a
that
big one.
I think
that's a big one.
I think that'll be a good one for sure. So we'll talk a lot more college football. Again, silly underdog picks coming up at noon tomorrow. On Friday, I will debut something here on the show when it comes to picks. Very excited about that. The suit has something for the people. Not a gift to the people.
The suit has something for the people. Okay.
Not gifts to the people,
okay.
But we definitely have something for the people. Coming up next, Willy's got his trivia question of the day plus his fantasy questions. We'll do that next here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, Preds fans.
Running across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Hey, football fans, Dak Prescott here. And I'm here to tell you that with NFL Sunday Ticket only on DirecTV, you can watch your favorite team no matter where you live. Because NFL Sunday Ticket gives you every live out-of-market game every Sunday afternoon. So switch to DirecTV and learn how to get the 2022 NFL Sunday Ticket season included at no extra cost. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
With choice package and above, 24-month agreement required. Call for details.
Hey, Willy Donick here. Are you feeling the sting of higher interest rates and higher costs? Those credit cards and other loans are costing more and more every month, and inflation is making everything else more expensive. Your home can save you right now. Your home's value is up, and there's a ton of cash in it, and you can access it with Loan Pronto. They specialize in zero-cost cash-out home refis. Get tens of thousands in as little as 2 weeks. And yes, VA loans are eligible. With a VA loan, you can access up to 100% of your home's value. So pay off high-rate credit cards and other loans. Consolidate everything into one super low payment. People who do this usually cut about $800 or more from their monthly budget. So if your home mortgage rate goes up a point or so, it's offset by your credit card rate going to zero. So call Loan Pronto and unlock that equity and wipe out the bad debt. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Now's the time to make a message known. All working-class Tennesseans vote no on Amendment 1 this voting season. Right to work does not belong in the state constitution. Hardworking families deserve to have their needs addressed in today's economy. Visit TennesseeWorkerAlliance.org. Paid for by the Nashville Building Trades.
Your home for Hit City is 94.9 The Fan.
Your Nashville Sounds continue their series at First Horizon Park against the Memphis Redbirds.
Swing and a miss, strike three. Sounds win.
Coverage begins at 6:50.
On your home for Sounds Baseball, 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey, this is John Hines, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Back here, Chase, Willy, and D-Mase. It's that time of the day. Be looking for the daily trivia question. We're going to transition out of the subject matter being the Titans every day. It was the theme of training camp. Part of our training camp coverage having the daily Titans trivia question will evolve into a broader spectrum of topics. But today, it will be another Titans question with all the roster maneuvering going on. This one's going to be pretty straightforward. Now, Nick, just clarify this for me. Is it the same prize we've been giving away earlier this week?
Same prize. 2-day pass.
To the?
It's the Blended Festival.
The Blended Festival at the Bicentennial Mall, and that is coming up?
I believe on September 10th.
September 10th, I believe, is right. It's a good prize. You heard us promoting that earlier in the show. And so today you're going to answer this off air. Again, 615-737-1025. Do not text the answer. I mean, you can. You can text the answer all day. You're just not going to win the prize. You must call to win the prize. But we were talking and speculating today with all of the roster moves. The Titans have declared their practice squad, but there's still maybe another move or two coming. Dennis Kelly is out there on the market. Have we seen him sign the last couple hours?
Have not seen it.
So that brought back memories of the day that the Titans traded for Dennis Kelly. And at the time, it was fairly significant because they traded a guy that they used a fairly high draft pick on, who was at one point the number one recruit at wide receiver in the country. Can you name this player that the Titans traded to the Eagles for Dennis Kelly? 615-737-1025. I feel like the first caller is going to get it right today. Do you agree, Chase?
I think
first
so.
caller is going to get that right.
I would hope so. If you've listened long enough and paid attention long
His name
enough.
came up earlier in the show, as a matter of fact. So if you've been listening for a while, you might know.
Floyd Reese used to have some things to say
yes,
about
he did.
him.
Floyd Reese was a thumbs up on the trade because he was kind of down on this player who had an enormous amount of raw talent, just never quite came together. Turned out to be a very good trade for the Titans. 615-737-1025. Nick, just give us a thumbs up when you have the correct
Festival
answer.
on the line.
Boom. First caller, I was right.
There you
So
go.
today was all about quickness and anticipation. The answer?
Dorial Green Beckham.
Dorial Green Beckham.
DGB.
DGB, who had just an enormous amount of natural talent. Good guy, too. I mean, I know he had some issues and everything like that, but, I liked his personality, and you could tell he wanted to be just never. And I remember Floyd saying this when they traded him. He said, he may end up being a good player, but it was not going to happen here for Tennessee. And I think it was a nice way of saying they just didn't think it was going to happen ever.
Floyd wanted to cut him. Floyd,
Yeah.
the debut, I'll never forget it. It was the debut of Jared and the GM.
Yes.
And they were at Titans training camp, and they're talking about it. And Floyd
Which
basically
means
said,
it was the debut of 3D.
3D,
That's when
yeah.
I joined
Yep.
this time slot
3D,
for the first time. Yeah.
3D Hall of Fame. Derek's waiting on his jacket. But he said, he'd cut him. And the next day he was traded. And I will never forget Jared be like, you got him traded.
Yeah.
Did you tell J-Rob?
And I
You
just
got him
remember
traded.
thinking, Dennis Kelly, that might as well be Dennis Leary. What did they get? But they got a lot of really good quality play from Dennis Kelly. And now today we're wondering, could there be a reboot? Could there be a reuniting of Dennis Kelly coming back here? We'll see. Remains to be seen. Now, are you ready for the fantasy question?
I sure am.
Okay. Here is question number 1 as Nick gets the final info on our winner. I want to ask you about the Jets. The Jets are an intriguing team from a fantasy perspective,
Jets,
okay?
Jets.
Nobody's expecting much in terms of winning. They're a very young team. Zach Wilson has a lingering knee injury, so it looks like it might be Joe Flacco that starts the opener. Might have to play a couple games here.
I think they will. I think he will.
They've got a second-year quarterback, and they've got a lot of first- and second-year skill players. Michael Carter at running back. They also drafted Breece Hall. Last year they had Elijah Moore as a rookie. This year they used Garrett Wilson with their first-round pick. They also have, as we know, Corey Davis over there. So my question to you guys is, of all the Jets' skilled players, who is the guy you might draft? Who is the guy that you're most interested in that you could see yourself picking? And let's just go down the list. At running back, you got Michael Carter and the rookie Breece Hall. At wide receiver, you've got Corey Davis. I didn't mention Braxton Berrios, who seems to have, a pretty good role there. And then you got Garrett Wilson, the first-round pick, and Elijah Moore, last year's first-round pick. Who intrigues you the most? Who could you see having on your fantasy roster of the Jets?
I'm going Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore, you like?
Yeah, I've liked him since Ole
Okay,
Miss.
so you think of all these guys who, they're hoping will blossom into something, you think he's got the highest ceiling?
Yeah, he's got a lot of upside, and he's young. This is year 2 for him. Now, you do have to factor in who's getting him the football, but I think he's going to take a step forward this year.
My theme of the day is role definition. So defining roles is a huge part of fantasy. How often is a guy going to get the ball thrown to him? So this is an unknown thing. So, Nick, what do you say to that question?
I don't know. So I really like Breece Hall just because of who he is and what kind of reputation he has. I think he might be the first person I look at if I pick someone from the Jets. But overall, if I go grab someone that I feel really confident with, I go get the former Titan Corey Davis.
Okay, so you feel like if he stays healthy, he could be a productive fantasy player for you.
Absolutely. Gets plenty of targets. I think Joe Flacco will play week 1, I think is what I'm hearing.
Yep.
So he'll get plenty of targets toward him, I think.
All right. Just as a reference point, you guys had your fantasy group. D-Mase had the first pick. We mentioned this yesterday. Anybody, you remember any Jets getting picked in
I
your
don't
draft?
think so.
No
I
Jets
really
were picked?
don't think so.
As a general rule, sometimes people say don't pick Jets.
Don't
pick Jets. I guess if you have a deep enough league, this is going to come into play. If you have a shallow league of 8 or 10 teams, I don't know how many Jets will be out there. But I can see some of these guys. Michael Carter was a good player for us last year.
Yeah.
He's a guy. He's going to get picked, Michael Carter, in most leagues. Not a bad player. But the question is Breece Hall. How much does he take away what Carter did? All right, question number 2. You got a choice between Kyle Pitts, who plays on a bad team, or the old standby George Kittle. Who are you taking? In other words, the real deep down question is Kyle Pitts going to explode in his second year, the immense talent he is, despite being on a team that's not very good?
I think even though I'm worried about him staying healthy, I'm going to go George Kittle.
You would still go George Kittle?
Yep. Philip Forsberg's best friend.
Are you biased because he's friends with Phil?
No. I mean, I like Kyle Pitts, but
you have a clear head when you're answering this.
Yeah.
Okay. Nick, you agree?
No, I really think Kyle Pitts will get a lot more targets than George Kittle will. Now, I know they have Marcus Mariota as their quarterback this season, and that's going to be a huge question mark, but I go Pitts. He had a great season last year. I know he had 1 touchdown too, so look for that number to go up.
All right, and here is a sidebar question on this. I don't know. Okay, let's just make this the third question in the interest of time. Will Marcus Mariota be the starter the entire year for the Falcons, or will Desmond Ridder at some point, for one reason or another, take over? Do you believe in Marcus? Can he make it through the season as their starter?
Hell no.
No? Okay, how many games? What's the amount of games?
8.5. I set the over under at 8.5.
So you think about half.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Nick?
I say if he stays healthy, maybe 10. I'm being generous because I think he is going to really, go after this opportunity for himself. Maybe 10. That's my bold guess.
You sound like you'd be happy for 10.
Yeah,
okay.
I think so.
I'm going over that. I think Marcus will have a good bounce back year on a bad team, but I think he's going to last. I think he's going to be just good enough to keep the job for a while. It'll be more than 10 games.
Okay, interesting.
I'm going to say 10.5. I go over 10.5, and I easily go over 8.5. But I think that's a fair over/under. Is about 8.5. All right. Those are your daily fantasy questions.
Okay.
It's crunch time here soon.
It
and
sure
if you
is.
haven't already had your draft, you're going to be having it here soon.
All right. There you go. Thank you for your fantasy questions and your trivia question. We do trivia every day at 1:30. Coming up next, we'll reset the Titans and their roster moves, and Stillman & Company coming up at 2 o'clock.
We got to take a look at the daily race.
Yeah, we'll take a look at
the New York Metropolitans and the Braves.
And the Braves losing to the freaking Rockies.
Thank you, Rockies.
Yeah,
thank you, Colorado.
We'll do that coming up next. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
2, 3, 4, look.
High school football is here. Join Big Joe Dubin every Friday night at 6 for the Apple Collision Center's Game Blitz, presented by National Playmakers Academy.
Just a small sample of these great coaches in our area.
We'll go around the mid-state for scores and reports on all the big games.
If I'm a high school coach, I want the challenge.
The Game Blitz is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Attention sports fans. Guess who's back? Your favorite sports book, BetUS.com, is back for their 28th year of NFL action with the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%. BetUS offer their members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite leagues, including NBA, NFL, MLB, and more. They've also got hundreds of new casinos, including the coolest European slots, and their live dealers are waiting for you at the tables. You need a sport book with integrity and longevity, and you need to know that you will be getting paid. You need a sport book that offers everything, including live betting, MMA, golf, horse racing, esports, and all kinds of crazy bets. Call today at 1-800-79-BET-US. That's 1-800-79-BET-US. And they will walk you through setting up an account. Nobody in the industry gives you better bonuses than BetUS. Join now and mention 1025, and you can get up to 200% in bonuses on your first deposit. Check it. Nobody beats that. Head to BetUS.com and join today. That's BetUS, where the games begin.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 Code Red meteorologist Greg Bobus. A nice end to the upcoming work week. Today, plenty of sunshine, lower on the humidity as well. No rain chances until the weekend. High temperatures take us into the upper 80s to right near 90 for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hi guys, it's Andrew. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of the pills? Well, today, Wednesday, August 31st, we're running a one-day special you won't want to miss out on. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most powerful form of wave therapy. This is a technology clinically shown to repair blood vessels and improve blood flow. Even Cambridge has studied our technology. If you're ready to transform your love life, grab your phone. Today is your day. Call us now and you'll qualify for the assessment and ultrasound totally free. You'll also get a gift that can produce powerful results in the bedroom in minutes. You're going to love that, guys. And today only, we're offering 6 tune-up treatments to our patients free. This is our most lucrative offer ever, worth over $1,200. But call today, Wednesday, and qualify totally free. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your love life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now to qualify. This offer ends today. 615-576-5000.
Jared Stillman.
If you get 3 games where he doesn't turn the ball over, you're going to the Super Bowl.
Caroline Fenton.
I don't know if he would be open to joining another team.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Join Big Joe Dubin and Elijah Campbell this Friday for the Apple Collision Center's Game Blitz, presented by National Playmakers Academy from 6 to midnight. They'll preview the big games and then take you through a night of high school football around the Mid-State. It's the Apple Collision Center's Game Blitz presented by National Playmakers Academy on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Welcome back into Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Stillman and Company coming up here in just a few minutes as they will look at the Titans roster, all the practice squad moves that have been made today. The Titans did come out with their practice squad, or their initial practice squad. Also, John Robinson going to speak around 3 o'clock, followed by Mike Vrabel. But no players claimed by the Titans, and every member of the practice squad was in camp with them. Logan Woodside, Des Fitzpatrick, Mason Kinsey, Reggie Roberson, Laurel Murchison, Xavier Newman, Jordan Roos, Andrew Rupchick, David Wells, a tight end, Sam, I can't do it, Jaden Peavy, David Anini, Chris Jackson, Theo Jackson, Joe Jones, Trenton Cannon, and then they also added tight end Thomas Oduyuke, who's an international player that doesn't take up doesn't count towards the 16, so they actually have a 17th player.
Chase, a couple of things to take a look at here. In fact, I'm kind of peeking at the scoreboard here. The U.S. Open is going on tonight. Serena Williams tries to stay alive. That's become a huge national story. Now, I wonder what's going to happen if this is it. She plays the number 2 seed tonight. Now, the crowd is going to be electrifying, rooting for her to pull the upset here. They had a retirement ceremony for her after she won the first-round match. I do wonder. She did say after the match, maybe she is going to keep playing in some form, but we'll find out soon enough. But that is going to be something to watch for tonight. If you want to see an amazing crowd atmosphere, tune into Serena Williams against the number 2 seed tonight over in Flushing, as we say, Flushing Meadows, the home of the U.S. Open. And speaking of Flushing, right across the street, the Mets will play the Dodgers again. The Dodgers beat the Mets last night as the Braves continue to try to catch them. The Dodgers won 4-3. The Dodgers are now, take a guess at what their record is, Chase, in their last 60 games. The Dodgers.
In their last 60?
The last 60 games.
I would say they've lost maybe 10.
You're right. 50-10. Now, you tell me how often that has happened in Major League Baseball. 50-10. That's like 27 Yankees kind of stuff. Like they are in that range in terms of domination, and they've done it, as we've mentioned yesterday, with all kinds of players hurt. Mookie Betts had another good game last night. Mookie was the player of the week last week, Nashvilleian. Has had a great year. So we will see what happens tonight, but the Mets got a mulligan losing last night because your Braves lost to the Rockies.
I know. Like, come on. Got to take care of business.
The Rockies, by the way, road record on the season, 20-42. So they got their 20th road win last night in Atlanta to help the Mets maintain the 3-game lead. The Braves and the Mets last night lost on the same night for the second straight game. Those are the only 2 times both teams have lost on the same day since the All-Star break. So they have been pushing each other. Tonight, it's the former Vanderbilt Commodore Kyle Wright, who's having a huge year, 16-5 on the season tonight for the Braves against the Rockies. And the Mets will go with Jacob deGrom against the Dodgers tonight. The Dodgers have a guy named Tyler Anderson, who you probably had never heard of, probably was not picked in your fantasy draft. He's 13-2 with a 2.69 ERA. So that's your baseball point. That's your baseball look.
Well, I'm going to go take in the Sounds game tonight as they take on the Redbirds. So,
speaking of the Sounds, the Brewers have kind of they're in action right now against the Pirates. They're out on the outside looking in right now in the playoff chase.
They have struggled since they traded Josh Hader.
And
he struggled.
It's gone very bad for Josh Hader, and it has not gone well for the Brewers.
Still don't understand that move.
The only night that seemed to work was when the guy got friend-zoned, and they rallied to win.
But I saw them play 2 games against the Pirates in Milwaukee and then saw them play at Wrigley, and they lost 2 of the 3. So maybe I'm bad luck for the Brew Crew. Sorry, Bob Cole. Sorry, Greg Pogue.
So the Sounds in action tonight. Like to hear that.
You can hear that on 94.9 The Fan.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Jeff Him on the call. Brett McMurphy put this out a few hours ago. ESPN and Fox agree to start early Big 12 talks, so Big 12 can now give potential new members from the Pac-12 specific numbers, allowing Pac-12 schools to compare revenue info if it joined the Big 12 or remained in the Pac-12 without USC and UCLA and any others that left to the Big 10. So that's kind of an interesting story, is all these TV deals, the Big 10 with their mega deal that includes CBS, Fox, as a part of it. Lots of movement.
Yeah, and the question everybody's asking is, will this affect Oklahoma and Texas and how quickly they leave the Big 12? Or will this be a way for them to keep them around until they're eligible to leave? And the other part is, of course, the battle between the Big 12 and the Pac-12 to have some sort of supremacy there. It doesn't look like they're going to merge or anything like that, but the future of those 2 leagues is on the line here, and the TV deal, as we know, is central to everything.
Oh, it is.
I'm not smart enough to know exactly what all that happens. I know that they are somewhat financially protected, but a lot of people just subscribe to the idea in a vacuum of one way or the other, Oklahoma and Texas will figure out a way to get out of there.
They're not waiting until 2025.
You think so?
I think, honestly, I think this is the last year. I think they're in the SEC next year. I think with the TV deals, the way they're going, and all this movement, it's going to happen.
We know that the issue is there would be a big financial penalty to those 2 if they left early. But is it offset by what they would be gaining is what everybody's asking. They would have to stroke a big check to the league if they left early. There'd be a massive penalty to do that, which is why people don't think they'll do it.
Yeah.
But there's people like you that say one way or the other, they'll figure it out.
Even if you wait, like if you wait after this year and you go a year early, I mean, it's not going to cost you as much, or 2 years early.
Well, every year is a big piece of money, big chunk of change.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think what's going on now will be important.
I do too. I mean,
and then part of me is also saying this, can we just put all this stuff to rest? Can we just enjoy the games for a while and not have to worry about all this stuff?
Well, starting tomorrow, we're going to enjoy the games.
I know. But like,
we're going to bet on them. I'm going to bet
you
on
know,
them.
all of it. We spent so much of the summer talking about TV contracts and UCLA and USC and NIL and transfer portals. It has messed up the game. So I hope now that the games are here, I can still just enjoy sitting back and watching the games.
It hasn't messed up the game. You
it messes up the game.
It's
messed
still
up.
Watch the game.
It's messed up.
It's not messed up.
I can't stand it. I'm really to that point for college basketball. It really bugs me. I haven't gotten to as much of that college football, but I fear that it's going that way.
No,
it's not like I'm not watching, right?
I don't want to see,
but it's messed up.
I don't want to see the NCAA tournament get messed up, but
it's on its way to getting messed up, man.
Yeah,
it's on its way.
That's true. You don't want that at all. But
there was an article today, and I forget where I saw it, but it basically said this: it's the latest theory of somebody in the know saying within a few years there'll be 60 or 70 teams in college football that play each other exclusively. Everybody else is going to have to find their own level. There's going to be 2 levels and not one in what we know as the FBS. Most people think that's coming. There's, you know. But in the meantime, I'm putting it all aside. I'm not going to try. I'm going to try not to worry about it. I just want to watch some football.
Well, tomorrow night you can watch some football.
Well, I watched some late Saturday night, and I was excited about it. The Commodores.
Yeah, me too.
I told you, I stayed up all the way.
They're looking to go 2-0.
I watched the whole game, man. I was soaking it up. 63-10, man.
Coming up next, it is Stillman and Company, and there have been some interesting tweets, some radio stuff involving Brett Kern, and they will discuss that. Coming up next here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
You watch The Game.
39, pocket trembling, down he goes. Hit on the play by Landry.
We talk The Game.
Harold Landry? Boy, you sure should pay him, right?
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk